Hey everybody, good morning. It's like 9:40 a.m. Here in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. This is your boy Kyle, aka Vulcan Wolverine, aka Vulcan Wolverine 2. Let me turn the sound off on my video real quick. Um, and welcome anybody coming in the chat. Um, I'm kind of just waking up. I woke up about 7:30 a.m. Hope everybody's doing okay. I've been having some trouble. My attackers are really punishing me. Like my defenses are working, but they like put all of their focus of the neuro weapons into stimulating my vagus nerve on my left side. It creates like a lot of pain. Makes me really tired and gives me headaches. So I kind of wanted to do something productive. Hey, welcome anybody. Hey, Jeff. Jeff says, "What's up, brother? Long time no talk. How you been doing, man? Yeah, I haven't seen you in a live stream lately. I've just been doing the same old, making videos, trying to get awareness out. You doing okay with everything? I've been using this. I did want to. I didn't pull it up on the screen, but you can just look up lead hats. Been using this with Dave Case's CD. It's been doing wonders for me. Still tired though. Yeah, Jeff says I've been hanging in, man. Yeah, me too. I know it's rough. It's been rough for just every targeted individual out there. I think a lot of people are saying it's been rougher since the start of the new year. But so much awareness is getting out. Like I saw a video. I saw a video yesterday on Neuralink, and it had like 500,000 views. So, and then I was seeing all these comments, right? Seeing all these comments like, oh, this technology is cool, but what if but I could see it being misused in the future, right? And like I left a comment in there saying, I just want to correct you. There are like more advanced remote versions of this technology that are already being misused. Seems like people have this misconception that like Google and Facebook and Elon Musk are coming up with these like mind reading things like Neuralink and mind reading headsets and everything. And even Glenn Beck is like, oh, what's going to happen when the military industrial complex gets its hands on those consumer products or on Neuralink? What's the military industrial complex going to do with it after they get their hands on it? But the thing is, it's backwards because the military industrial complex came out with all this stuff first, and then it's trickled out into the consumer market, and it's trickled out to people like Elon Musk. So people like have it way backwards. Hey, Tim Greenglass says morning, another day. Yep, it's another day. I just figured I'd try and do something productive, read the rest of that article. It's a straight up article from the Air Force Academy, the Eisenhower Space and Defense Center. So, no conspiracy theory. I was saying on the last video, I'm just going to start. I mean, this is common knowledge. It's common knowledge that people are being hit with neuro weapons. People are being tethered to this directed energy and hit with directed energy weapons. I'm just going to start acting like that. Not acting like that, but like it has to be like that. Nobody can be that stupid. And then we have these channels now, which are really like, I'm going to do a video. I don't know. I'm kind of talking with Stacy and stuff, and thinking about just maybe leaving it alone. But that channel Omni Airs is really going after Kevin Christian to the point of like, I mean, just call it like the saying. Really, it's really getting down and dirty. It's really getting down and dirty. Maybe he did some stuff in his past or whatever, but he is a targeted individual and he's going through hell. And I'm kind of debating on whether or not I want to do a live stream kind of on their videos and how rinky dink it's become, how rinky dink these channels that make fun of targeted individuals, they have the last of the, I don't want to say the R word, they have the last of the really stupid people who don't realize that this is going on, just laughing at people dying. But that's like, it's getting phased out, it's getting completely phased out, but it still makes me very angry. They do it with such a purpose. Like, I mean, they attack targeted individuals They pick their marks, and then they do it with such an intense anger. It's almost like they understand that this is happening, but they want to cover it up and deny it so bad because they're so spineless, that they end up, getting very down and dirty. Jeff says people think Musk is so brilliant that he just picked up a pen and paper, wrote a formula, and bam, Neuralink. Yeah, they think he's Tony Stark. They think he's Iron Man. I was telling people Elon Musk was in Iron Man 2. Like in Iron Man 2, Tony Stark goes to this dinner and Elon Musk is there. So they were basically equating Elon Musk with Tony Stark in Iron Man 2. So you can go watch Iron Man 2 and Elon Musk is in there. It's ridiculous. I mean, but that's, what I was thinking, guys? Let me read Tim Greenglass's comment. Tim Greenglass says, well, he's either really smart or very rich. I think that he's very connected. I think he comes from a family that, not an American family, but it was a European family with a lot of money and a lot of connections to the top of the pyramid. And they picked him to kind of trickle out certain things that the military-industrial complex is working on to make it look sparkly and sexy, right? It's what somebody in the comments was saying, to give it that sheen to it, And I was thinking this could be a good thing for us. Just a thought, like I'm not sure about this, but we see, right? We see all these consumer products and medical things coming out that have to do with neuro manipulation. We see Neuralink coming out. We see millions of views for what Elon Musk is doing. I'm thinking this could be really good for us because I think that the people who are carrying out these programs, this torture, 24-hour-a-day torture, experimentation, mind control, they're putting out all this stuff that's really good, right, to the public. It's like they're starting to pump it out to the public, all this really great stuff about neuro manipulation, Neuralink, mind reading headsets and stuff like that. It may be in preparation. Because they understand that there's no way they can keep the public from knowing what they've done, all the torture and experimentation and false flagging innocent citizens. So they want to put out all this good stuff in preparation, right, to try and get out in front of it, kind of. So it might be a good sign for us. It might be signs of the times that that this program is coming to an end, that the public is catching on, because the military-industrial complex, through the medical industry, through Elon Musk, through these consumer markets, they're trying to put out all this stuff that looks so great and it's so convenient to the public. For when the public learns that they murdered a bunch of innocent people, experimented on men, women, and children, mind control of men, women, and children across the world for some of these consumer products and medical advancements. But, along with the training and research and development for military stuff too. Yeah, Jeff says he's a distraction tool, literally. I think he is. He's put there to make it all look so shiny and convenient and slick, but he didn't come up with any of it. There was another thing that the MIT article. I need to go through the MIT article, and it's like, oh, some doctors at MIT figured out of nowhere how to use a phased array antenna, put an electromagnetic field around a human head, and then use a bidirectional stream of infrasound and ultrasound to manipulate neurons in the brain, to manipulate brain activity, right? Just some scientists at MIT or some doctors at MIT just came up with it one night. Just to use phased array antennas to create electromagnetic fields and then use electromagnetic frequencies to remotely manipulate the brain. And none of that just came about as an accident. Doctors didn't just come up with that at MIT. It was trickled out by the military-industrial complex, which I'll do a video on that too. All right, my nose is itching. Yeah, so I hope you guys are doing well. I have so much pain over here. I'm trying to find something, like a supplement for the vagus nerve. I did want to mention, like, I woke up and I had a lot of pain, inflammation, and it's from vagus nerve stimulation. But what I tried to do is I really tried to focus on my breathing, like really focus on breathing through my nose and really consciously, notice how I was breathing, consciously breathe in. And I started doing that for like, 30 minutes, and the pain started to subside a little bit. I think what we've got to be careful about, guys, with remote neural manipulation. They can actually manipulate shallow breathing, like they can make you breathe more shallowly. And then when you're not breathing right, the pain that they're creating in your body is going to be worse. So I think we really need to work on some meditation things, how we breathe, like pay attention to how you breathe every once in a while. Just go, how am I breathing? Because this remote neural manipulation, I think, can mess with our lungs and how we're taking in air. You know, Jeff says people think Musk is so brilliant that he just picked up. Okay, I already read that. Tim Greenglass says everything cutting edge comes from the military, and then it trickles into law enforcement and corporate areas. Yeah, any kind of technology, the military industrial complex is going to get its hands on first, and see what they can make, see how they can use it as a weapon, see how they can use it to control people, see how they can make it into a weapon. And then they let the medical industry have it in the consumer markets and law enforcement, right? Because law enforcement has so many of these non-lethal weapons, or I wouldn't call them non-lethal weapons because we're being murdered with them, so it's a little bit insulting, right? But they have, microwave weapons, sonic weapons, and everything like that. So law enforcement really should be helping us out, but they're just involved. You know. Hey, Nicholas. Nicholas says, "Hello, everyone. I made it. You're up early, man. I can't believe I'm up so early. I just kind of wanted to finish this article real quick, and I'll read some of y'all's comments too." Tim Greenglass says, "My local Walmart has facial recognition going now." Yeah, we're getting it. Like in China, they have full facial recognition, social credit score system, and I think that they're pulling in way more direct targeted individuals than America or Russia. So China's really bad with this stuff. I read like a local newspaper was even writing about China's social credit score system and how China has facial recognition to go along with that social credit score system. So I mean, they're conditioning people. They're conditioning people already that aren't being directly targeted for people to be singled out and punished. And then they're directly targeting people. I think it gets, it's pretty bad here. There's some of this going on here, but in China, they're like harvesting organs from Christians and dissidents and stuff like that, and nobody hears about any of that stuff. It's really weird too how we don't really get any Chinese targeted individuals on our videos or in our chat. You don't get a lot of videos being made by Chinese targeted individuals because their internet is really censored to where they can only look at certain things. Their citizens can only look at certain things, and when they put out certain things, it doesn't go out to other countries. So you could have a lot of Chinese citizens making YouTube videos or putting out videos on some kind of social media about organ harvesting and the tyranny going on in the country, and they don't get out to other countries. They don't let it get out. Hey, Miss Kitten. Miss Kitten says mild weight training really helped my EMF muscle attacks. They're incredibly painful. It feels like my vitality is being vampired out. Yeah. I'm gonna have to do some shoulder and neck workouts. It's just the vagus nerve all the way down. Like it hurts in my leg, it hurts up here, and it's my attackers are putting in to the remote neural manipulation just all the power they can, all the frequency they can to stimulating this vagus nerve because it just gives me these headaches and I can barely think and I'm really tired. And then a lot of the other stuff they're doing with remote neural manipulation works better. Like just running total interference on my brain. Like, so it's like hard to think, it's hard to talk. It's been really bad, but like it gets worse, and you try and say, well, it's not that bad. But then, you know, some days where your attackers just turn it all the way up and they have no mercy on you. You're just like, yeah, it was that bad, and it continues to be that bad. You just have to go through it all the time. Hey, Ann. Ann says, Nicholas, good morning. Tim Greenglass says, cameras now scan license plates. Went to a mall, then got robocalls from a business there I never went near. Yeah, it's really bad. Uh-oh. Okay, Nicholas says, I'm being assaulted so hard right now. You called it. Shallow grunting, breathing, hard to catch a breath. My skin is burning. Can't think, body vibrating and twitching. I gotta get out of here. Yeah, Nicholas, focus on your breathing, man. I was doing, like, this morning, I was having trouble breathing too. I was having a lot of trouble breathing, and I started focusing on my breathing. And when the remote neural manipulation is affecting my lungs, like me taking in breath, it affects a lot of the pain too. I get a lot more pain in my muscles and my nerves and stuff like that. Hey, clever fellow says, Vulcan, you have plenty of YouTube traffic flow. You could be getting paid to host this page. I put up advertisements sometimes. And I really want to get a new camera. I want to get a new camera so it's just better production value or whatever, but just so it looks better. You guys can donate. I've gotten some donations, like one or two. You can donate to paypal.me/Vulcan Wolverine. If you want to donate any money to the channel, I'll probably either use it on a camera, editing software, because I need to start doing some stuff. I'm getting really inspired by a simulated reality. So I want to, at the beginning of most of my videos, I want to really promote his channel, a simulated reality on YouTube. Probably a lot of you guys that watch my channel, you already watch his channel, and I don't think he needs much help from me, you know, promoting his channel, but I want everybody who comes to my channel to be watching his channel. He's doing a great job. He's putting up solid information. That's where we're going to win. That's where everything's going to grow, because he just puts out the experts talking about this, concrete information, concrete documentation. James Giordano, Robert Duncan, John Hall, you know, all these, David Voits, you know, David Voits, he had a video about David Voits the other day that was really good, and David Voits kind of just summed it up, because David Voits actually had some inside information. But yeah, a simulated reality. Go subscribe to his channel, share his videos. You know, obviously, like my videos, share my videos, subscribe to me too. But I think I think that people, targeted individuals who may not want to put their face out on YouTube, or you know, just want to remain anonymous, take a tip from him. You know, take an inspiration from a simulated reality, because you can just get these awesome video clips. You know, not professionals, but what's the word I was going to use? But from accredited sources, doctors, people who've worked on this equipment, people who've worked on this technology, just talking about it, you know, a simulated reality. Please go and support his channel, subscribe to him, share his videos. He puts it all together really well. So Nicholas says, they won't shut up. They're threatening me over V2K, but I can only get a few words, like a bad cell connection. My heart won't stop pounding. Yeah, Nicholas, I would use Dave Case's CD for the heart stuff. Nicholas says, my body's so stressed, I can't even hold a joint still. I'm sorry, brother. It's really bad. This targeting is so bad. I'd try and get the bone conduction headphones, Dave Case's CD, the noise canceling hearing aids, because they're doing a lot of this remote neural manipulation and manipulation of our nervous system, our brain, through our vestibular system, through the inner ear, either through electromagnetic stimulation of the head going to the inner ear, or straight to the inner ear. So you want to fill up your inner ear with music, human resonance, noise canceling hearing aids, the bone conduction headphones, Dave Case CD. Get started on that, and then try some passive shielding around the head to go along with it, and grounding. Grounding is super important, guys. Barring that, if you don't have any of that, use ice packs in emergency. Jeff says it's part of the hyper game theory to make the victim believe it's not so bad to distort the truth. Yeah. I don't know if y'all saw, and hey, PA, I don't know if y'all saw one of Brian Two's videos where it's talking about that movie. I can't remember the name of the movie, but they're playing chess, and he's talking about the game, the big game of tricking somebody, of conning somebody, and it's like feeding them pieces to where they think they're winning while you're planning on taking you're planning on checkmating them. And that's what our attackers try and do. That's part of hyper game theory. I've actually had some real wins in this targeting, but sometimes my attackers are like making me feel like I'm being very victorious when they're working on something. They're being very patient to then kind of crush me in the future, but you wiggle through that, you get through that, and you can have some real victories, Yeah, definitely. Yeah, y'all should watch that video Brian put out, the chess game, where you like in a con you feed people chess pieces, and that's what our attackers do. I've actually had some real wins though. The defenses stack them, rack them up, Dave Case's CD. Dave Case's CD should work for everybody. Like if you're getting remote neural manipulation, it should work for you. Like just keep using it. I know it's annoying. It really should work because there's a similarity in what they're doing to the vestibular system. I'll talk, Nicholas. I'll text you, man, because it seems like you're doing really bad. I mean, I think we're all doing really bad, but like it seems like you're in emergency mode. In my emergency mode, I take 0.5 milligrams of lorazepam and I take some kratom. I use chemical shielding to take the edge off of my nervous system. Like if I'm just in really, really bad shape, and then from there, I have the CVS drivers, the grounding I keep on all the time. Dave Case's CD when I sleep. When I'm awake, I have the noise canceling hearing aids in. I mean, you gotta start building up stuff. That can help, I guess. I mean, too much of that though, like Nicholas, like you said, don't have lots of weed. That can help a little. Marijuana can help a little bit, I think, but you probably don't want to just do it all the time, because it may, it does kind of change pathways in the brain, and it can maybe make things worse in the long run. Just everything in balance, right? We want to do everything in balance, everything in moderation. I'll text you, man. I'll text you after this, and we'll see. You gotta. What about that project you're working on? The coils around the room, and then I think you should do something like just some coils, like a ZVS driver that can maybe modulate for now, and then work on the coils around the room. And then also, I know that passive shielding isn't 100%. I understand that, but if you're in an emergency, lead and less EMF headgear, and then getlambs.com. There's a beanie from there. They do put an electromagnetic field and bidirectional stream of energy to the head. And if you do have some passive shielding, it might not be 100%. They can adapt to some of it, but it can be good in an emergency. It can really stop everything. And then grounding. You gotta just keep trying to use that stuff, because I know we get backed up into a corner, right? We get in this emergency situation, but since I've been like working with these defenses, I get into an emergency every once in a while, but I make sure that I'm building up my defenses. Like I was saying, think about this targeting like it's flipping your pole, right? Like that kind of sounds dirty. But this is your negative pole on this side, just your positive pole. This is the middle area right here. and they're getting us in this negative where our magnets flip, our poles flipped, right? And everything's kind of like hurts, and our body's not working right, our mind's not working right. We got to do things to get over to this positive pole flip, where maybe things are still bad, but you're climbing up. You know, you've got to push it back that way with some attenuation and defenses and stuff like that. You're creative, man. Nicholas, you're creative, and that's the one thing. We got to be creative, y'all. We have to be creative about defenses and things like that. Lori says, Alex Rivera commented on my comment on Tom Fitton's post that the stalkers are on a list and going to be revealed, and he's going to DC to testify. Probably a troll, huh? I don't know, Laurie. I hope not. Like, I hope that people are going to DC to testify. I haven't heard anything about that. You know, all the gang stalkers put on a list would be the hundreds of thousands of people in every country, because you've got people that just work for DHS fusion centers. So these gang stalkers that you see in your community or vehicular stalking, there's tens of thousands of them in every country, at least. It could be hundreds of thousands, right? There's a lot of people, and there's just like a couple of targeted individuals in a city, and all these gang stalkers, you know, harass those targeted individuals. Then you've got some gang stalkers. Well, you know, your microwave attackers are one thing, but you got some gang stalkers in your area that are assigned to you, maybe from InfraGard, or they're a little bit higher up in the chain of like community placed agents, and they do street theater specifically for you. You know. Well, Nicholas, I'm trying to help. Yeah, Nicholas Hamlin says nobody will help. But all I can do is run away as fast as possible, which destroys my ability to exist. And the problem is that running doesn't get you away from this. That's the biggest problem. Like Brian too just made a video where he said Ecuador is a good place to go. I was like looking into Russia, but the stuff is motion compensating. Like I can go all over the city, and I've still got the directed energy tethered, you know, to my brain and my nervous system. Attenuation is the only way that I've found to get relief. I've tried running for the first couple of years, just moving and going to different states and stuff like that, going to visit my parents in Florida, going here, going there, and it didn't help at all, because it's you know, this is routed by satellites through an infrastructure that is global. It's a global infrastructure. And then you've got like Elon Musk putting up Starlink satellites, a bunch of other contractors putting up their own satellites, and it's routing everything through this whole infrastructure on the ground. So, I mean, I know you can get out in the woods. Maybe you should go out. Maybe you should go out and camp a little bit. Maybe it would feel better. You know. They broke all of your equipment and are poisoning you now? Oh my God. Okay, I'm gonna have to call you, man. I'm gonna have to call you, Nicholas. They broke your experiments. They broke the stuff you were putting together. They just broke in and broke all that stuff. Oh man. Yeah, Tim Greenglass says some say they can learn your DNA signature and zap us from anywhere, but I'm not sure on this one. I think that's true, Tim. I think that it's basically our brainwave frequency. It's our DNA frequency, so our biofrequency. So the NSA, like in these contractors, they get our biofrequency, and then they can just resonate whatever they're shooting you with that DNA biofrequency. There's going to be that your brainwave frequency and the frequency that your body is putting out, the electromagnetic frequency that your body's putting out. They use a bunch of stuff like nanotechnology, Morgellon stuff, you know, implants to intensify it, but they can hit you without any of that stuff. Like I'm pretty sure about that. Like I'm like 100% sure about that. Hey Kim. I hope I said hey to everybody. Nicholas, hey man, I'm gonna call you after this live stream, and see if I can help you. Yeah, man, I understand. I'll read that, Nicholas. So Nicholas says, I don't completely understand. I just don't know how to keep myself safe anymore. I have no want to harm anybody or myself. I just want to live my effing life. That's that's all of us, all of us, guys. Just to be honest, sitting here, the thing that I found to because nobody's coming, right? Nobody's running to our rescue. I'm sorry. I'm sorry that nobody's coming to our rescue. Maybe people are going to become aware, things are going to get better for us. But nobody's running to help us right now. Um, I'm sorry. I'm going through it too. I'm a target individual, so I know that we're in emergency mode. We're gonna have to take this into our own hands to survive. It's a war. You're in a war. Like every target individual that's watching this, you're in a war. Don't misperceive what's happening. You are fighting for your survival in a war where people, all they want to do is deny this and call us mentally ill to make themselves feel better while we're murdered. Nobody's running to save us. That's going to change, right? That's going to change. It's going to change. We're going to force change without violence. But I'm telling you guys, and I tell you guys, and I tell you guys, and I tell you guys, I'm not a doctor or anything, but I am a survivor, and I've been going through this for a long time. The thing that I've found to survive this is to stack up defenses, is to start using stuff. Start using Dave Case's CD every day. Get some noise canceling headphones. Get some grounding straps. Get 3 of them. Start building up. You don't have to buy everything all at once. Start doing it. Nobody's coming for us. Nobody's running to help us. We're trying to change that. It's taken a lot to force that along. The only chance that we have is to take things into our own hands. I've found things that work. Like I promise you, I can promise you, I found things that work. We can complain about it all the time. Be like, yeah, we're dying. We need to do that. We need to get that out there, right? We need to say how bad this is, but nobody's going to be running to our rescue. We're all we have right now, and it sucks. And I wish it was different, but you gotta take it into your own hands. Start dealing with this stuff. Nicholas, you know a lot about these frequencies, man. If you use some competing frequencies in your vestibular system, because a lot of this stuff is being directed at the vestibular system. The key point of it is the inner ear. Dr. Hoffer, who knows a lot about this, who looked at the Cuban embassy workers, he's a concussion expert. He said, the key point that you want to defend is your inner ear. Noise canceling headphones do that. Dave Case's CD does that. Then you can add some passive shielding on your head. There's beanies from getlambs.com and things like that. I'm not trying to be like, dude, I understand how much pain you guys are in. I get it. Trust me, I'm in a lot of pain right now too. You see how pale I am? I have just my vagus nerve stripping my head where I can barely think sometimes. The only way that I found, guys, is to take things into your own hands. Start doing the cleansing baths. There are certain supplemental hacks, right? Supplement hacks, where you can do things like lecithin. You need to be taking a multivitamin. You need to be taking vitamin C with vitamin D in it because our calcium channels are being damaged and you get really tired. Maybe an adrenaline supplement if you feel really drained. Start doing these little hacks, right? These supplement hacks, cleansing hacks, defense hacks. You add all those things together and it won't seem like emergency mode every day. I've gotten to that point where it's like, man, I'm getting attacked, my head's getting messed with, but okay, I can still go to the supermarket. I don't feel like I want to kill myself because the pain's so bad. You can do it. You can do it. And we have to. You're in a war. Don't make any mistake. I don't want anybody making any mistakes in here because we want to lift each other up, right? But you're in a war. You're being killed. You're being tortured. People are turning a blind eye to it. Now, there's going to be help coming soon. There's going to be good people who eventually realize it. But right now, we're fighting for survival. You're fighting for your survival. I'm fighting for my survival. So I don't want anybody to get it mixed up where, like, hey, we're a group and we need help and we're just going to keep crying for help. We're going to do that too, right? We're going to cry for help. We're going to, force people to help us by shoving this in their face. We're going to do that. But to get that pain down, to buy time, it's a very important thing. It's a very, very important. I want y'all to listen to me. To get that pain, to attenuate that pain and get this to a maintainable level is your number one priority. All of this, everything that you want to do after that comes after attenuating this and getting it down to a maintainable level. Because everybody is like, well, I'll get defenses after we stop this program. I just really want to stop this program. I get it. But you need to attenuate and get your pain levels down first. So then what you're doing, you're getting awareness out, or you're working on certain projects, working on defensive projects, right? But you got to climb up to those. You got to get it to a maintainable level. Then everything that you got planned after that, then start doing that, because you're going to be doing it a lot more effectively. Hey, Jeremy Andrew says Vulcan Wolverine is on fire. Well, we have, a lot of people in the chat, they're in emergency mode. I get it. Like, I'm kind of in emergency mode. Like, it's maintainable. It's maintainable because I make it maintainable. It's not maintainable. Like, don't do this, guys. Don't rely on your attackers to, like, stop attacking you. That's what, like, at the beginning, like the first 2 years, I decided I'm not going to depend on these attackers for anything, for no mercy. I'm going to have it in my head that they're always going to go as hard as they can on me all the time, and I'm going to have to determine my comfort level with defenses. And I said that in the first 2 years. I decided it was the best thing that I've ever figured out in my life. Don't rely on these attackers to help you, and don't rely on these stupid ass gang stalkers, because we got a public that's so stupid, they're actually attacking us instead of helping us. They're actually, if you've seen this Omni Eris's channel, they laugh at targeted individuals, and I've never seen somebody so mistreated and just cussing at Kevin Christian. Horrifying. A horror movie. Children and women are being tortured. We're all being tortured, and these people are just laughing at it. We can't depend on them. Their brains are gone. Their brains haven't been microwaved, and they're not there anymore. You have to depend on each other and yourself. You guys are smart. You guys are creative. Creativity is number one in finding stuff. Hey, Tansy says, PA1, me too, but do you think it's going to be as big as what we have been led to believe? Oh, what are y'all talking about? Let me see what y'all are talking about. PA said, yeah, I know, man. I know everybody's doing really bad. Well, and hey, Jennifer says, I believe it's nano. Yeah, it's so much stuff. It's not just nano. It's not just reading our bio frequency. It's not just bigger implants. It's all of those things together. And that's why human beings have so much trouble figuring this out. And that's why it's done on purpose, because there's so many redundant systems of how this works, so many configurations of integrated weapon systems that are hitting targeted individuals. And it's all a little bit tailor-made to that certain personality and that certain target and that contractor trying to do specific things. And then within the way they hit us, different protocols. You got electromagnetic transcranial stimulation. You got straight to the vestibular system. You got microwave hearing. You've got electromagnetic field around the head. You've got bidirectional stream. You got a bunch of stuff. Then you've got nanotechnology. Then you've got rice grain size implants. Then you've got it where they can actually read your DNA frequency. That's a true thing. But they intensify it with the Morgellons, the fungus with heavy metals, just heavy metals themselves, nanotechnology, and then implants. That's the military industrial complex. It's never going to be just like, it's never just going to be like, oh, well, it's just this one thing. That's how they're doing it. One word. It will never be like that. Because anytime you see how the military industrial complex is genociding people, torturing children and families. Well, when they decided they wanted to do that, they said, we got to make this very, very complicated. And as we're making it very, very complicated, we've got to go ahead and condition people that if anything's really complicated, it must be a conspiracy theory. So they've been working on this parallel line of getting everybody in society to believe that if anything is more complicated than one sentence to explain it, then it's a conspiracy theory and it's all conspiracy nuts. And while they're making this program of torture and experimentation very complex, right? And we can bottom line things, right? Like I agree with Jennifer. Like there's nano involved in this. You know, bottom line, we're being hit with directed energy weapons, neuro weapons, and there's all these catalysts. There's all kinds of toxins. There's even toxins that people don't talk about. Like we talk about nanotechnology, we talk about Morgellons type stuff, we talk about implants, we talk about heavy metals. But you know, when I was talking to Dr. Hoffer, he was speaking about something, and I can't even remember the name. My attackers wiped it from my mind because it's so important. He said it's the key to this is that they use different kinds of toxins. They'll put it in targeted individuals' environments, and the directed energy weapons, they act completely different when certain toxins are introduced. And I don't even know the name of them, but it's different from nanotechnology. It's different from those other stuff. It's like, you know, there's certain kind of neurotoxins, but then there's also certain toxins that are made specifically to interact with directed energy weapon torture. Dr. Hoffer said that's like, you know, that's why the Cuban embassy attacks, like those people, it kind of presented in a very specific way. It's why my targeting presents in a very specific way. Like I have a lot of people that have the same kind of targeting as me, but then we're a little bit different from some other targeted individuals, and that's the big differences is those toxins. I can't remember the word. I'm going to see if I can email them and get that information. And hey, Healthy Living and Other Things. Healthy Living and Other Things have been putting up a lot of great videos. Oh yeah, the fires in Australia. How are the fires in Australia? Are they have they gone down yet? I bet you they were started by directed energy weapons. Like that's not even a conspiracy type thing. Like these huge fires are being started by directed energy weapons, space-based weapons. Tansy says, Lori Smith, I used to get hit in the kitchen too, so it covered up all the cracks and holes in the ceilings and walls. Also, I put a big plastic container in the sink and used that to wash up in. Yeah. Tansy says, always have your plug holes covered. Yeah, so they can't manipulate electric energy coming out of your outlets. And they can do it from the floor and the walls. They can manipulate these electric fields that are created by your wiring in your walls. You know, that's just one protocol, right? So this stuff entails a lot of different angles. Sucks, really sucks. Yeah, Jeremy Andrews says definitely a Q-wave AI system, but with human operators too. Yeah, I have let's read about that. That's a good segue for the rest of this article. It's about you know, the rest of this article. I'll show you all what the article's from, and we're getting into the neuro weapons. We're getting into neuro weapons and DARPA and the things that they're doing. You know, but it's from an Air Force Academy magazine, so they do the stuff that's like really national security, top secret stuff. A lot of the stuff happening to us, they don't come right out and say it, you know. But it can give us a good overview, right? We just got to keep putting more and more of this information out. Hey, Sleepless in 2012 and Mischievous M. Jennifer says, I remember another TI said she did a hair test and it came back with unknown toxins. They told her to go to the CDC. That may be a really good idea. That may be a really good idea because like we do have a lot of toxins from chemtrails, toxins that are personally probably placed in your environment by maybe people around you who may not even know what the toxins are for. They may be told that it's just a smell that's going to bother you or something like that, and it could be a very specific toxin that contractor torturing you needs to intermix with the directed energy weapons. Dr. Hoffer, and I believe him. I believe he told me what he could tell me, and he said that's the key to it. And a key to it and why it behaves differently in all these different targets is because of the specific, and he had a specific word for it, but I just can't remember it. Hey, Chris R. Chris R says, great advice, brother. Yeah, I mean, I give people, I put out advice, but remember this, guys, I'm a targeted individual too. I'm going through hell. The one thing though, that I really do, I guess I get some people like they listen to it and they're succeeding. And then some people, it seems like maybe they just think the stuff I'm talking about, it's like, oh, well, I don't know if that works. Honestly, guys, there's some stuff to attenuate this. Like there's some things within this. So, some of the neuroweapon stuff, some of the bidirectional stream of photonic energy, it's very, very hard to attenuate. You're attenuating stuff around it. You're attenuating stuff getting into your vestibular system, so it de-intensifies everything. But I still deal with a lot of mind control, right? I still deal with a lot of remote neural manipulation of my thoughts and emotions and things like that, right? But if you're attenuating all these other angles and protocols, it can kind of quench the fire. And I'm really serious about it. I'm not lying at all. Like it's the only relief that I've found. It's the only way that I've stayed connected with my family and not just like gotten so paranoid out of my mind. You know, I was reading about this thing that we produce called oxytocin. Like when you're in a relationship, you produce a lot of oxytocin. It's called the snuggle hormone, right? But if that gets out of balance in your body, you can become paranoid or depressed or anxious, a lot of negative feelings. So it's like, you know, there's some things that are very specific that our attackers are sending a signal to the brain and messing with the pituitary gland and the things that it releases to make us like really paranoid or to make us this or that, you know, some pretty general frequencies that we can actually attenuate and feel a lot better. Taking thyroid supplements, taking an oxytocin supplement. That's one that the magazine mentioned, but it gets pretty specific, the type of things that they're doing to our body. Yeah, Tim Greenglass says oxytocin is a love bonding neurotransmitter, but if it's out of balance, right? Like say, I don't know, that's what I was thinking. Like, and I don't know, I didn't have too much of a problem with this, but I have been dealing with, well, you know, I'm in a relationship with Stacy. I'm probably producing a lot of oxytocin. My point is that our attackers could maybe manipulate those things. So we've got to like use all these supplement hacks, know, kind of say, how are we feeling? Could this be our attackers interfering with our brain to make certain glands, our endorphins or anything like that? And then you can feel better by doing these little supplemental hacks, right? Like Drenamin for your adrenaline system. You can get energy up, a thyroid supplement, because our attackers are doing a lot of this, like really messing with the brain to mess with how our glands produce stuff to make us feel, right? So some of this stuff, it's not all like, oh, remote neural manipulation. They're putting a frequency to the brain and it's just making the brain feel that way. There's a chemical reaction. There's a chain of events, right? And you can get into that chain of events. You can get into that chain that they're doing and feel better and attenuate it, right? And so we've got to get really creative and really like kind of talk about what's happening to us, what we think is going on, try some supplements. Oh, does that make me feel better? Like I took the thyroid supplement. I felt so like less depressed and so less anxious. We got to try everything, guys. I just wish, yeah, Nicholas says, yeah, they sure are maxing out my adrenals. Like with mine, they subdued my adrenal glands. And I think with some people, they amp everything up, right? It's like it's a different protocol than me. They make me so tired. It's just like I'm just drained. They're just draining my adrenaline system. So we got to do different things. And hey, Slack TI says beta blockers, niacin, and B complex. Beta blockers, niacin, B complex. Yeah, and Tansy says covering your neck is a key spot to cover. Yeah. Tim Greenglass says, pardon me, oxytocin is more of a hormone and neuropeptide. Yeah, it's called the cuddle hormone, and your pituitary gland produces it. In good, like what my point was is that in good levels, it can cause really good feelings, right? But say you're producing a lot of it because maybe you're in a relationship or something like that, or just it's an example, right? It's just an example. Say you're producing that, our attackers can manipulate that. So we got to be aware of biology. We got to be aware of our own biology in different situations to know like what our attackers are doing. I guess that's not a great example. I don't know. It's something that I've been just thinking about lately because that the magazine said it. My point is this. There's a lot of creative ways that we can biohack ourselves, right? Our attackers are biohacking us with electromagnetic frequencies, toxins, psyops, stress levels, everything like that. We can biohack ourselves, right? We don't only need to depend on just passive shielding, just Dave Case CD, just noise canceling hearing aids, just cleansing baths. We can biohack, add stuff to our system that can make us feel like not on the edge of just dying, right? Because our attackers are going to mess with a lot of that. They're going to mess with your thyroid. They're going to mess with your hormone levels and everything like that. So I was just using that as an example. It's not even a really good example because I don't think that's a big problem with most of us. I was just kind of wondering because I do a lot of targeted individuals in relationships always start suspecting their spouse or their girlfriend. I never suspected like Stacy of being an agent or anything like that. But I noticed that a lot of targeted individuals, they suspect like their spouse or something like that. And it's like, you're producing a lot of oxytocin in a relationship, then your attackers can get in there and manipulate. So it's just like an example. An example used, we got to be aware of what's going on with our bodies. And we can get creative with that. Then it's just, my whole thing is just get your angles going, get your Dave Case's CD, get your grounding going, get a couple of supplements like adrenaline or boron, or and then get your cleansing baths going and get those things. Just kind of start them up, and you're going to be surprised at how much better you feel. That's just, I wish that somebody was coming. I wish that like they were on the way, like help was on the way. Because I hate to see people come in here and they're like, I don't know how I'm going to survive, like, being killed. I get that too. Like, I mean, I get that too. Like last night I was like, my head is going to explode. I think I'm going to have permanent brain damage. But I just had to get through it. I just had to put on Dave Case CD and this lead hat and kind of get through the night, and then I started like practicing my breathing and I started feeling a lot better. Hey, Future Knowledge says they pump me up sometimes and press me down sometimes psychologically. Yeah. Mine are always doing negative stuff. Yeah. Mine never do anything. They never make me giddy or laughy anymore. They used to, but now it's just all they're getting tired of me. They hate that I'm making these videos, so it's like they're really focusing on damaging my jaw and my head, and causing headaches, so that I won't have the energy to like do videos and talk and stuff like that. I don't care. I'm still gonna keep going. PA1 says they have closed 2 personally owned health stores in my city over the last 6 months. Yeah, anything natural, like the FDA is going after. A lot of stores here in Louisiana, they can't even carry like edible CBD because it's just there's so many regulations and the stores have to pay so much money, and it's like the FDA is like, no, don't let people take CBD because then they won't take all of our expensive pharmaceuticals that are actually involved in some of the mind control. Tansy says, sleepless, me too. You can also use a thick piece of leather too. I covered my foil with some gold wrap and wore it out shopping. Yeah, that's creative. You guys listen to Tansy. You got to get creative. You'll be so surprised. You'll be so surprised. Like if you try some stuff, some passive stuff, some grounding, it won't take care of everything. And our attackers can adapt to stuff. I agree with that, but it's gonna tone things down so that you're not like, I'm gonna die. Like, I mean, right now I'm sitting here making this video. I'm annoyed by my V2K. I feel really tired. I feel messed up. I feel like my brain's been messed up, but I'm like, I'm gonna live today. I can maintain this right now. I can get through it. Gotta get to that point. If you're at the point, of you're like, I cannot handle this, I can't handle it, and you're always living like that, then your number one priority is not even building awareness about this. Your number one priority is attenuating to a point where you can get to a maintainable position. Then you work on the awareness. Then you work on getting people to understand. Because if you're in a state of, I'm going to die, this is so hard, this is so painful, and you go and try to tell people about this, done. They won't listen to you. They won't listen to you. If you're panicking, they're gonna be like, oh, that's a mentally ill person, that's a conspiracy theorist or whatever. The only reason that this channel seems like halfway decent and intelligent is because I remain calm. And the only way that I'm able to do that is by using these attenuating things. I'm just telling you guys. I know a lot of you guys know it's common sense, but I'm serious about it. Like it's not just like, oh, placebo effect. AFKCD is it works. It's like there's a science to it. Hey, thanks, Charles. Let's go ahead and read this, guys. I can just read y'all's chats all day. I think I might just start coming on here sometimes and just reading y'all's comments and just talking, looking stuff up. Okay, so Laurie Smith says chocolate produces oxytocin. I don't know why I brought that up. Like recently I got, and I don't want to talk about, I guess I don't, yeah, just, my attackers were doing a different psyop while me and Stacy are together, and I'm kind of wondering how they did it. And it's like they were very patient with it, with the psyop, and it really kind of, they use my want to like do what's right, to do exactly what's right. And then there was like the whole factor of like, oh, well, I feel like I'm going to abandon my family if I move to California. So there's a lot of stuff mixed in there. I wish I could talk about it all, but I definitely don't want to put any, like, I don't know, me and Stacey kind of talked about it. I don't want to talk about like details and stuff, but we are together and we're going to stay together. But my attackers were doing a lot of stuff to me where they were almost making the remote neural manipulation feel like my thoughts in making things feel like things weren't right. And it was very, very different from when we weren't together. This remote neural manipulation gets really intense. It gets really detailed. It's good that we have our heart. It's good that we have our heart. It's good that we have our spirit. It's good. And I prayed to God about it. I was like, I just don't know what to do because I'm getting bad feelings. I feel like I shouldn't move to California. I feel like this isn't right for me or for her. But then I prayed to God about it, and he like he helped me see what my attackers were doing to me. My attackers were manipulating me because I had such strong feelings about it. And I do think the oxytocin thing, did affect it. I hope that wasn't too cryptic. But me and Stacy are doing good now. She's still targeted really bad. I'm still targeted really bad. It gets really hard. It gets really, it gets hard, but it's worth it, when you love somebody so much. So, but that's been a hard thing for me lately. It's been a really hard thing for me lately, because just when it's like, I'm not going to go into it right now. I just don't want to I don't want to embarrass her or say anything, but she's a beautiful person. She's fighting her fight. We're fighting together. We're fighting together, and she's going through targeting, but it's tough. It's just, this stuff is tough. It's like I just can't get too much into, that. So like right now I'm feeling like crap physically, like my head, but my heart is full, my spirit is full. That's going to be an important thing too, right? Because I say like the defensive stuff and the attenuating, and I say all this stuff all the time. Get with God, get with God, get with God, get with God, because He can bring things in your path that it's just like maybe I'm not even using them yet. Solutions and things, spiritual, spiritual strength to get through this. We need spiritual strength to get through this. And like earlier, I'm saying like nobody's coming to help us. Um, it's going to change. That's going to change. But I'm just saying right now we can't depend on society to come to our rescue. Really can't depend on anybody to come to your rescue. What you can depend on from other targeted individuals is for them to fill you in on maybe something you didn't know about this technology, or maybe a solution that could help you, but then you got to take it the rest of the way, right? Um, and that's a tough thing. That's a tough thing for me, because a lot of these things that I use for defense, they work. Like, I mean, they really work. They help me to make it maintainable, to make the whole thing maintainable, and I can handle it. And then I just see people like not using defenses, and they're like, nothing works. But I know it does. So how can they be saying that? It's like whatever type of targeting you have with directed energy, it can be attenuated. You're going to have to try different things as it's tailor suited to you and how it's doing it to you. But there's stuff that definitely works. So I get kind of like, what are we doing? Like, people are saying nothing works and not trying anything. It does frustrate me, because that's the only way that I found to survive this, to get through it. It's the only way. Like, I guess you can go to Ecuador and try going to Russia if you have that kind of money, but with a lot less money, for free, you can get Dave Case's CD for like maybe $80. You can get some good grounding. And then you can get some good supplements and vitamins and stuff like that. And then you can start building up your headgear. The headgear has been a huge thing. Headgear with the grounding from Less EMF, or from getlambs.com, or from that, I can't remember the place that I got this lead cap. Just put lead cap into Google. Let's get started on this, guys. Let's get started on this article. I'll open up my tab to read some of y'all's comments. I really just want to get this finished. And Nicholas, I'm going to call you after this, man. We'll talk about some stuff. All of you guys are so creative. You can figure out how to feel better, how to feel. And maybe it won't be all the time. Maybe sometimes it'll just be overwhelming. You have to lay down. Like last night I had to do that. My headache was just so bad. But then like I put on Dave Case's CD, put on the lead cap, had my grounding on, and then I woke up feeling halfway decent, and then started from there, and just, took some lecithin, took some Adrenaline, took some my multivitamin, took a little bit of kratom, some white vein kratom. Stacy has really bad targeting. The noise canceling hearing aids work for her. And then one thing that really works for her to, like, when it's just the pain is too much, is the kratom. Like white vein kratom works best for her. White vein kratom works for me, but I got the green vein and the red vein. I'd really suggest that for when you get into a place where it's just like, this is too much, and maybe for people who do use marijuana for the pain, maybe switch off with kratom, but just don't do it too much. Stay in moderation. We're going to talk about some more defensive stuff, and I'm going to get something solid for you guys. I've decided I'm going to get something solid that we can switch up, that we can like modify when we find new things. And it's just going to be a web page for defense. Like, maybe I'll put some other stuff on it too, but it's just going to be mainly the first page, targeted individual defense solutions. And I'm just going to put from Q-Wave Defenders to Dave Case's CD, to supplements that we all use, to cleansing ideas. It's going to be just every idea that I can think of, and that you guys put in, things that y'all are using, and then people can just find the cheapest ones, start on those, and then just kind of like, oh, this sounds good. Maybe I'll put a, like, I don't know, maybe on the webpage I'll put like how much it helped me, and maybe we can have like a rating system or something like that. I don't know. We've got to do that though. We've got to get it in one place, so people can have some ideas. That's my best advice. My best advice on this stuff is to get with God. That's number one. I pray in the name of Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ is the Son of God. I pray to Jesus. Jesus is my Lord and Savior. But just get with God, no matter what kind of spirituality you have, or if you don't have spirituality, start trying to connect with that creative force in the universe, and He'll lead you. And then practical shielding. Practical shielding is not going to get you 100%, but it can get you to a bearable point. And then if you're just in like, you're like nothing ever works at all, then you're going to have to go to the doctor and just be like, I'm in pain, my body's burning up, and I don't know what's happened to me. My head hurts, I'm having a lot of pain. Don't tell them about the targeting, because I'm not sure that's a safe thing. Some doctors would maybe listen to it, some would not. You don't want to take a chance on that, but you want to just go to the emergency room, tell them you're in pain, and get something to maybe hold you over until you can get DAVKCD. You can maybe work in some of these passive shielding things. That's kind of, you know, that's what I got this morning. When I can think better, I'll maybe give you guys some better ideas. And you know, also check out Brian 2's video where he's talking about, if you do have the money, you know, maybe go to Ecuador. He said Cuba is probably the best. I don't know, Cuba's kind of dangerous, but Ecuador sounded okay, you know, and I don't think it stops the directed energy weapon attacks, but Brian 2 seems to think if you can wipe out the gang stalking and the street theater type stuff, that it can greatly affect the weapons attacks. I don't know. I don't know what I think about that, because I stay isolated, like in my condo. I go out very late to get stuff, you know, if I go shopping or anything. So I'm not totally bombarded by ground gang stalking. I get a lot of vehicular gang stalking, and I kind of ignore it. I know it's there, but it doesn't really get to me psychologically. And my attackers seem to just use everything that I'm doing in the V2K for psychic driving for the remote neural manipulation. So I don't know that moving to a foreign country where it could help. It could help. I don't know. I'm still kind of thinking about that. Let's finish this article, guys, and then I'll read some of y'all's comments, okay? Okay, so Tansy says, Brian 2 offended me in a comment he left on your last video. Ooh. Yeah, he has some differences with me. Like, we just have differences of how we think things work, and he thinks that I don't really know anything about this technology, which is false. I mean, it's completely false. I know a lot about this stuff. The problem is that, you know, where I disagree with him is you can't just sum it up in a textbook excerpt of bidirectional stream of energy, satellites, routing microwave. I mean, there's a lot of angles to this. There's a lot of different contractors. There's a lot of different kinds of experimentation for different targeted individuals out there. So it's not something that you can sum up as this is what's happening to every targeted individual. I think people don't like that. They want a solid, it's this word, it's one word, it's this. Or, oh, it's okay, it's this explanation across the board. But remember, we're dealing with a global weapons proliferation, and these directed energy weapons are used for many different types of things by many, many different groups in the DoD, right? The Marines have a different use that they need to use these directed energy weapons or neuro weapons for. They're going to contract out to experiment for those uses. The Army is going to contract out to experiment for certain kind of uses. The NSA is going to contract out for certain kind of informational gathering usages. with neuro weapons and directed energy weapons. CIA is going to contract out for different kinds of things that it wants, different psyops, different genetics that it wants to test it on. So you've got all these different agencies wanting to use this very, very powerful weapon in mind control in this pyramidal web, right? And it can't always be boiled down to every targeted individual. They're doing trauma-based mind control for this reason, and it's like the DIA, right? And I don't think Brian thinks that. Brian knows that it's more complicated than that, but sometimes it's just like we've all got to put our information together. Like it's not going to be one expert that comes out, and not even Dr. James G. Dornan. Like not even Dr. James G. Dornan can come out and say, oh, they're doing this to every target individual, because he's going to be missing some angles. He's going to be missing some angles from some of the agencies and contractors actually doing it. Even Dr. James G. Dornan. So, oh, that's good. Jennifer says they don't gang stalk me anymore, just weapons torture, so they don't need it in some cases. Yeah, my gang stalking has really, really reduced since the beginning. Like in these last 3 years, it's really reduced to just vehicular stalking all the time. And they just, with the neuro weapons attacks, they'll hurt me, they'll give me certain feelings, then they'll kind of cycle that, right? They'll cycle what I'm feeling from that. They'll maybe cycle things with my family. Even if I'm just watching a movie or playing a video game, they'll try and bother me and then put that into the remote neural manipulation. So I kind of agree. I don't really think they necessarily, need the gang stalking that much. I think it discredits us, it irritates us, it's added to the harassment, so the remote neural manipulation can work better, but I don't think it's completely necessary to carry on what they do. I think Brian too would disagree with me on that. Oh, Tansy said you did send him an obvious and logical reply. Yeah, just be logical, Brian. I don't know how much he's going to talk to everybody, because he pretty much just thinks everything on social media and the conference calls have been taken over by PSYOP operatives, which I don't agree with. I think there are infiltrators, but I think it's a certain percentage, and there's tons of real target individuals. That's what I'm focusing on. I'm a real target individual. If you're a real target individual on my video, that's who I want to focus on helping. But these neuro weapons are very extensive, and it can make it seem like everybody's an agent. That's the thing. That's the thing with these channels that are making fun of us. It's like these are mind control weapons. It's microwaves damaging the brain and messing with chemicals that we're producing from our endocrine system and adrenal glands and stuff. We're gonna misperceive some things. Like we've got to admit that as targeted individuals. Like when I go out and I look for one light cars, or I just get them on film, some of them are just going to be people who haven't fixed their lights. It's going to blend in to the actual DHS Fusion Center vehicular stalking. We're going to have to admit that everything's such a confused, chaotic mess. Sometimes we may get it wrong. Sometimes we may misperceive what's happening. And if you come to that conclusion and you can admit that, you can figure out things a lot better. You can get to the real truth of things way better if you say, well, I know that my attackers are using neuro weapons and directed energy weapons, but man, I know that their whole protocol is to psyop me and sometimes make me think that something's going on that's not really going on. If you keep that in mind, listen to other targeted individuals, really, really pay attention to your situation while attenuating away a lot of the remote neural manipulation that's messing with your perceptions, then you can get to that path where you're finding out, okay, you're figuring out stuff. And maybe not figuring out everything, but at least you got a solid bottom line to work from, a solid bottom line to make other people aware, right? I think that's, and with God's help, we can figure this out. So let's read this, guys. Let me show y'all. Oh yeah. Tansy says Brian too gets physically beaten up a lot with the street theater. Has anyone else here experienced that? I've gotten pushed a couple of times. Like I've been up at the counter and I've had some really aggressive gang stalkers kind of shove me. But I try and ignore it, or I just try and be, nice to people. I either ignore gang stalkers or I'll just like be overly nice, so they don't have a reason to physically accost me. Um, yeah, I've seen that. I saw where the guy with the machete was coming at Brian. Um, so that seems like it seems, yeah, I don't know. It could be different in foreign countries. It could be different in foreign countries. But let's get to this, guys. We'll talk about some of that stuff later. I'll probably do a panel next time, so we can just talk about stuff. Gotta kind of get my energy up. I gotta fix my vagus nerve somehow. That's I might go to a doctor and try and get help with that inflammation there. It just makes me really think that I have an implant in my ear, like in my left ear, that's then connected to all that stuff in the vagus nerve, or in a tooth or something like that, because it's just so intense sometimes. Okay, so this is from the Eisenhower Center for Space and Defense Studies. I went over some of this last time, guys. Volume 9, number 1, spring of 2016. So it's the Journal of the United States Air Force Academy, Eisenhower Center for Space and Defense Studies. And we're coming up on the part about neuroweapons, software-based neuroweapons. And that would be, what we call remote neural manipulation, where your emotions are getting manipulated, where you have visuals being put into your visual cortex from an automated software, right? From an AI software that keeps injecting it every couple of seconds. Brian too talks about that. And I think he's right on about that. He's right on about remote neural manipulation. It's like injected over and over every once in a while to try and get your attention. So you really need to be able to read active memory. At a certain point along in this, like when you're targeted for so long, your brain gets so tired. You get so tired of paying attention to it, that reading active memory can sometimes just drive you nuts. That's why I suggest sweeping the board, right? Using attenuation and things to attenuate the remote neural manipulation, so you don't have to so those remote neural manipulation tactics will seem a lot different because they'll be attenuated out. Your attackers won't be as hooked into your head and your brain and your nervous system. So like when I use Dave K's CD, my attackers will put a whole line of thought in my head, like a negative thought or something like that. Like, oh man, I'm not going to be able to do anything today, but it'll go like it'll pop in and it'll be different. It'll have a different feeling than my own thoughts because of how I'm attenuating, right? If you attenuate and you work with these things and you experiment on getting your attackers unhooked, then what they're doing can't seamlessly flow with your own thoughts. It's going to be very abrasive and it's going to be very noticeable. Now, some of you guys who are maybe at the beginning of some of this stuff, you're like, yeah, it's noticeable, obviously. Yeah. But as time goes by, what your attackers are trying to do is they're trying to make that remote neural manipulation seamless, kind of fit with your own thoughts. So that's why attenuating it, Dave KCD, noise canceling hearing aids are so important. So let's start talking about the neuroweapons. Straight from the Air Force Academy, Eisenhower Space and Defense Studies. Information and software-based neuroweapons. Not all neuroweapons need to be of a physical nature. Some might just consist of information that is designed to manipulate behavior, or there could be software that hacks neural devices or implanted chips. DARPA has within its Biological Technologies Office a neuroscience-based project called Narrative Networks, which aims to understand how narratives influence human cognition and behavior and apply those findings in international security contexts. So we can take something directly from our targeting on that one, right? We can take the voice to skull, right? I have a man and a woman on there. The man is like, hey, we got to put him away. Let's see what he's saying right now. Okay, the guy goes, I don't care, he's evil. And the woman said she doesn't want to do this anymore. She hates it here. So it's a narrative, right? That's a narrative for me. It's a good cop, bad cop narrative. The woman's on there and she doesn't want to do this. The man's on there and he wants to do. So it's supposed to split my mind, right? Oh, they're good. They want to help me. Oh no, they're bad. Oh, they want to kill me, right? It's kind of a narrative network. How do these narratives? And that's not the only thing that DARPA's studying narrative networks, but it's a good example of how they want to see how narratives and certain kinds of surveillance role playing affect people. Psyops, right? Psyops. Um, the context for national security is to understand why certain narratives are believed and others not, and how narratives can support terrorism. The methods include research into how the brain responds to certain narratives and the development of computer models of how narratives affect individuals and social networks, right? Um, and that's I don't know if any target individuals think there are not infiltrators into our group. There definitely are, because our group is the #1 experimented on group to try and obfuscate and disrupt us. So there's definitely infiltrators and fake TIs and stuff like that, because they want to see if they say this, can they split up this group? If they make two real TIs paranoid of each other, what can they do here? If they put an infiltrator in here to say this about this other TI, how can that affect things? We're the #1 messed with group in the world, like probably more than a lot of terrorist organizations in the Middle East. Being messed with mind control psyops and neuro weapons, software-based AI psyops. And that was a mouthful. Or just AI, just being messed with AI tactics and agent provocateurs and things like that. So it is definitely true, because they want to see how they can get us paranoid of each other, how they can split us up, because that's #1. They want to use these weapons. People who are trying to get information out about this, they want to disrupt us. They want to disrupt us. They want to make us paranoid. They want to make us isolated so we don't speak out. It works a lot. A lot of targeted individuals don't want to speak out because they feel like there's too many people they can't trust. Uh, a lot of stuff, a lot of different psyop stuff, or that you're going to be thought of as crazy, or lots of things, lots of psyops on us to kind of keep us isolated and keep us quiet, keep us not trusting each other. And a lot of these things, there really are infiltrators. So, a lot of them they really work on with real people. So related effort is the Minerva Initiative, which seeks to build deeper understanding of the social, cultural, and political dynamics that shape regions of strategic interest around the world. Another project, so this next one, right, it's not a conspiracy theory, and a simulated reality makes a lot of videos on this. Just want to promote his channel. Everybody go subscribe to Simulated Reality. Go like all of his videos, really support that channel, and share his videos. So another project is the Sentient World Simulation, which can simulate the behavior of entire societies and thereby enable wargaming of psyops. And Dana Ashley had somebody on where they were talking about with the Sentient World Simulation, at least everyone in America, and I think they're doing this with other countries, but at least everybody in America is in this Sentient World Simulation. They take that person, they have like Morgellons type things, toxins, they have little nano chips, like little chips the size of dust that we all breathe in, and they can read people's biofrequencies, put them in the Sentient World Simulation. Then they know who to target, right? Because they're seeing who does what person's going to in the future do this or do that, and therefore they can pick targets from that Sentient World Simulation. Not sure how all targets are picked, but now it's easier to see who the troublemaker is going to be, who the truth teller is going to be, who the person who has a very bright future and can influence people to do the right thing against a tyrannical society, who that's going to be, right? That's why they want the Sentient World Simulation. They use this technology, reading biofields, to put people in there, to put like basically your virtual twin in there, see what they're going to do. They probably even have targeted individuals like me and you guys in chat. They have us as being targeted in that simulated world, sentient world simulation, to see what we're going to do while we're being targeted. It's gotten really bad. It's gotten really just a controlled society where they're trying to get all the information they can to try and control the people who are going to be troublemakers, to try and control the people who are not going to be compliant, take out anybody who's going to, make trouble for the for Hydra, basically, the top of the pyramid. They're not called Hydra, but basically it's Hydra. Basically, like all these fraternal organizations and stuff like that. It's like a group of really bad people who want to genocide a lot of people in the world, at the top of the pyramid. Rich families. I guess you just call them rich families, like the Rothschilds. I don't want to get too much into comic book stuff. Hydra is just so fitting for kind of the infiltration that's happened in America and other countries. So DARPA also funded research in the context of its social media and strategic communications project, exploring how emotions of users can be manipulated through social media. In the context of its social media and strategic communications project, exploring how emotions of users can be manipulated through social media. I guarantee you they're collecting data on everything, like on how people respond to Facebook, people like Philip DeFranco and stuff. They have some connections where they're seeing how can this person influence big groups of people? What kind of news can we put out? What can we make people believe? How do we steer people away from the information we don't want them to have? And how do we steer them towards information that's untrue, or that would be helpful if the public believed in this untrue information, right? It's really bad. It's really bad stuff. Ultimately, the various information/software initiatives focus on social and behavioral research for understanding cultural and political environments where threats develop. Such research can potentially be used for the political and psychological subversion of other societies, or for social engineering, which was a concern for the older and similar Project Camelot. A further extension of PSYOPs is the use of sophisticated battlefield illusions to directly manipulate enemy perceptions. For example, DARPA has made $4 million available for research into how the brain processes sensory perception information so that perceptions can be managed to confuse, delay, inhibit, or misdirect the enemy's actions. Around the world, defense establishments are also working on invisibility cloaks and holograms that can make an object disappear or to create a convincing illusion of a non-existent object. And a lot of targeted individuals have actually had a lot of experience with people in invisibility cloaks. Like they're practicing that in their protocol. They send in maybe people to their house that are wearing this light refraction technology, and they're using that protocol. They're seeing how that target's going to react to that stuff, or they're doing some of the gaslighting, messing with their stuff, breaking stuff in their house using these actual light refraction technology clothing. I don't think that I've had any of that in mine. But I don't know. Maybe secretly they might have come into my place. That's a very real thing. It's a very real thing. So that can make an object disappear to create a convincing illusion of a non-existent object. Enemies might be easily manipulated into surrendering if they saw endless columns of holographically projected soldiers marching towards them, or divine apparitions, a face of Allah weapon. Military information support operations already intersect heavily with cybersecurity and cyber operations because of the possibility of conducting PSYOPs on and via the internet. And I guarantee you there's tons of PSYOPs on YouTube, there's tons of PSYOPs on Facebook, there's tons of PSYOPs on Twitter to point people in certain directions to certain information and things like that. I feel like, for real targeted individuals and just people really telling the truth, we still have to use these platforms, but we do have to be aware that You know, if you see somebody with like millions of subscribers and they're like commentating on politics and commentating on technology and stuff like that, they're probably an influencer that is connected to Google, or connected in some way to the pyramidal web of the military industrial complex. We call them influencers. Like this, who's that? Casey Neistat. You all know who I'm talking about? The guy with the really big nose, and like he looks real weird, and somehow he just became this famous YouTuber, but he talks about nothing. I look at somebody like that and I'm like, psyop, like psyop, definitely psyop. I even look at PewDiePie sometimes and I question. Obviously, I look at the Logan brothers, Logan Paul and Jake Paul. They're definitely not. They didn't just get that famous just on their own. Like, I mean, they were put there. They were put there to brainwash kids into being vapid idiots who don't care about anything serious and will not take anything seriously ever. So then they can just wait for their turn to be tortured and killed, you know. Tansy says, Kyle has a special way of breaking down information that makes it so much easier to understand. Thanks, Kyle. Much love and respect to you, bro. Much love to you, sister. Love you too. At this point, guys, sometimes I don't know what I'm doing, just to be honest with y'all. I know that I'm trying to get information out. And at this point, I'm looking at a simulated reality. His channel is growing really, really fast. And it seems like that's something that people like to watch, you know, edited videos. And that's something I wanted to do from the beginning, but like my targeting got so bad that I was like, oh, I'm just going to have to do live streams. I'm just going to have to do articles and stuff like that. But I mean, we can do this. Like, we can do this. And we don't always have to know like exactly like, oh, if I do this article, is this going to be really, really successful on YouTube? Probably not. I'm reading an article, right? But you guys can hang out. It's good for us. Like, it's just good to get together and get more concrete information out there. But just do something. Just be creative and do something, right? Don't wait for that perfect angle. You know, don't be like, well, I need to find an angle that's 100% fixes all of this and ends the program and ends my pain and heals me 100%. Like, do some stuff. And on that journey, right, if you step into the water before it parts, the water will part after you step in it. You step in the water with faith, then God's going to do the miracles. Don't wait for God to create this miracle and then go, right? And so that's kind of my whole thing, is to just go and be figuring stuff out and be throwing spaghetti against the wall, especially for you like inventors in the chat, artists, just people who are very creative. I've never met a group that's like more creative than you guys. It's slam dunk. Creativity, right? Necessity is the mother of all invention. We need right now, right? We need the pain to stop. We need people to listen to us. We need this, we need to survive, right? Necessity is the mother of all invention. We're the best people in the world to invent stuff right now because we are direly in need of solutions, right? So it's going to come. But yeah, I appreciate that, Tansy. I really do. I wish I was more like at the beginning. At the beginning, I was more light and I'd tell jokes and stuff. And this has changed me. Like, this war has changed me a lot. And I'm trying to get to a lighter side. It's very tough, guys. I mean, like, all you guys are hurting so bad. Some people's children are being tortured. It's hard to keep our heads in this because it is a war. I appreciate all you guys, all the compliments and everything. All of you guys could do just as good of a job. You get on a video, do live streams, put out information, or do what a simulated reality is doing. Do what Autumn is doing. I hope she's okay. I really hope Autumn's okay. But we just got to do this. We just got to tell the truth about this stuff. no matter what happens, it will increase the probability of better things happening in our individual situations and then as a whole. And it's just, I know that we want the big end all be all solution for this to go away, the ultimate one court case that just ends the program globally, right? That's not how any of this is going to happen. Like, honestly, all this is going to be an evolution of a bunch of different things coming together in a bunch of different countries to actually then eventually end this experimentation. There's not going to be one court case. There's not going to be one person to wield a lightsaber and end this, and to end the evil empire or anything like that. It's going to be all of us over long, hopefully not a long period of time. Hopefully not a long period of time from now. But it's been a long time for me. Kind of gets to me, but doesn't change what we need to do, right? How big the situation is. We do what's right. We help people. We come up with solutions. We make our situation better. And from there, boom, 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 God can work miracles. And no doubt, like I've already experienced those. Chris R says, as TIs, we have to lean on each other because we understand what we're going through as TIs and can provide support to one another. Yeah, Chris. It's true, guys. And if you see somebody, how about this, guys? Can y'all help me on this? I know my moderators already helped me a lot, but everybody in chat, if you see somebody who's just like, man, I feel like I'm going to die. I feel like they're cooking me. And you guys, y'all probably already do this, but just take a little time to maybe put one solution or a bit of advice for them, right? We'll try this, or or just words of encouragement or something like that. If y'all could help me on that, because I think sometimes I miss some people in dire need, which, if you go to Freedom for Targeted Individuals, there is a 24-hour TI hotline. And then, if you just feel like you're going to die, obviously go get medical help. Get something like maybe they can give you some Ativan or pain medication that can get you to where you can get some attenuating things. Those things like pain medication is not going to really help us that much because it's going to alter the nervous system. Things are going to get worse, right? A little bit of Ativan could help over a maintainable period of time. Kratom can help too, but the deal is with Kratom, I've been taking Kratom for like 3 years, probably 3 years. 3 years, yeah, 3 years. And at first it was a very maintainable solution, right? But I take it every day now. And it's kind of messed with, it's kind of, you just shouldn't take Kratom every day for 3 years. It's not a good idea. So it was a good solution, maintainable, but now I've got to figure out how do I balance this because I'm kind of taking too much. Taking like 4 in the morning, 4 in the evening. So we got to find these maintainable solutions and then maybe switch over to something else. Like I'm going to try this Dr. Stan Gruberman, maybe John Gruberman, but look up Dr. Gruberman, guys, online, and he has a joint formula which I tried, which helped a lot, and he also has a neuropathy formula. So it has a lot of vitamins and supplements used for neuropathy. So I'm about to try that to see if I can get some of the inflammation in my vagus nerve kind of stop. Right, a biohack, my own biohack. We gotta start biohacking ourselves with good nutrition, with supplements, and then we've also got to start taking these advancements and knowledge about electromagnetic fields and turning it around. Consumer products, the bone conduction headphones, right? Bone conduction headphones came out of research done to target individuals, but now we can turn it around and we can use bone conduction headphones, put them on, use this human resonance, use Dave Case's CD, and it can really, gets that vibration going, and your attackers need a certain resonance. They need a certain resonance with the electromagnetic frequencies in your inner ear and on your cranium, right? So that can shake everything up. A massager can shake everything up, and you can get a couple of good hours of relief, This creativity in God is like the number one. And remember, really remember that necessity is the mother of all invention. If I wouldn't have been targeted, I think I would have been a very compliant person. Like other than like I like comic books and fantasy movies, so in that way I'm artistic. I'm a fantasy writer. Like so in those ways I was creative, right? Creative in art. I never knew how creative I could be with technical solutions to stopping electromagnetic fields if I didn't need to do it, right? So you guys need to look at me. I'm a comic book fantasy writer guy. I was good at English. Like I have some genetics where my grandfather was a naval engineer. So, but my brother was always the math guy. But hey, look at all this like Dave KC. I learned about that. I'm learning about some frequencies, putting together a ZVS driver. It should be a good, hopeful thing to you guys because I'm not Mr. Science, but I've become Mr. Science, right? Because I had to, because I have to figure this stuff out, because it's our survival, because we're in a war. You will be amazed at the things that you can do when you step out. And even in this, guys, and I know like I'm not trying to take away from anybody's pain. You step out of that victim mentality and you will be amazed at what you can get done. But if we're like, even if it's like really bad and you're dying and you're just like, hey, somebody needs to help me. I mean, I'll help you, and other target individuals will help you, but we just don't have a big cavalry coming to our rescue to give us medical things to stop our attackers and stuff like that. So when you get out of that waiting for people to help you, and you start helping yourself, and you start winning a war, you start fighting this war, you'll just be amazed. Necessity is the mother of all invention. And it's really amazed me. Yeah. Slack TI says you need to take 3 to 7 days off every few weeks of kratom. Tolerance builds quick. Yeah. It's addictive. Yeah, it is addictive. Yeah, it is. It's like not bad if you just do it for like like a year or something. But if you got to do it for like multiple years, yeah, it's like and it's for targeting. It does. It's like it really helps me so much. It does become like I can't do anything without kratom. Like I take some before I do videos because it just tones down the pain. But it is a powder. It's not a hard drug. So that's a good thing. I'm really far away from the camera. I hope y'all can hear me. Okay, let's get this done. Let's get this article done. Hey, thank you, Laurie. Laurie says, thanks, Kyle. I needed to hear that. You rock. Yeah, guys, and trust me, like I'm going through pain too, and I don't ever want to be like, oh, you're in pain? Too bad, so sad. Like, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying we can't wait on anybody to come save us, right? We're trying to do all these things, and you really got to take it into your own hands. You got to start getting really creative. Start listening to people who maybe like me, right? But there are other targeted individuals who they may seem to be holding up pretty good, right? They got their head above water. What are they doing? So you don't have to like create an invention yourself. You don't have to create some kind of Tesla coil machine that stops these electromagnetic frequencies, but take a look and listen to people who are doing pretty good. And they've got a maintainable situation. Whereas like targeting's hurting them, but hey, they can go out and do stuff. What are they doing? So yeah, and there's a lot of targeted individuals like that with really good advice. Look out for Charlie. Look out for Charlie. Now check out his channel because he has a lot of the great supplemental things. So where was I on this? Military information support operations already intersect heavily with cybersecurity. Okay, via PSYOPs on and via the internet, right? So there's PSYOPs on the internet. There's PSYOPs on all social media platforms. Once neural devices are more commonly used as computer input and brain stimulation devices directly connected to computers, they could be hacked just like any other piece of electronics. The difference being that it is not just the normal functioning of an external device that is at stake, but the functioning of the user's brain. A hacker of a neural device like Neuralink, but we're being hacked with all these catalysts, right? Our biofield and our brainwave frequencies are being hacked, and we don't even have to have anything in us. You have magnetite naturally in your brain that conducts electromagnetic frequencies, and I think they use that to tap into your actual brainwave frequency, right? Either I don't know how it's separate. I don't know. Okay, like brainwave frequency, DNA frequency, biofield frequency. I don't know. What is that all the same thing? Is your brainwave frequency the frequency at which your DNA is at? I'm not sure. I need to look into more of that, but I know that they can use all or one of those three to hack into your biofield. Like the NSA has that kind of technology, which we read on that court case from, not going to be able to remember that name, but I'll bring that up again. But yeah, so they're using all those catalysts to intensify it, to increase the intensity, to change the way that the neuroweapons work for certain individuals. But then they also have that, you know, unique biofrequency. I guess I'll just call it unique biofrequency, because I think that's what John Hall says. I think John Hall says brainwave frequency. John Hall says brainwave frequency. So a hacker of a neural device could alter brain waves, moods, mental state, and capacity of the user, and might even take control of a user's body through a BCI to perform unintended action. Such neural hacking could even permanently rewire the brain of the user or brainwash them. Now this does, like this remote neural manipulation rewires our brain. It changes the white matter tracks. It changes how we learn about things. So it does, it damages the brain. Like how much is that damage? Can it be repaired? I think when your white matter tracks change so drastically, it's kind of like that for life. But the thing about, like, you know, I think with a lot of targeted individuals, and I've had this occasionally where my arm will be moved, but it's not a huge protocol with me. But for some other targeted individuals, limb movement, forced speech and everything, you're probably, not all the time, but I know that one protocol that they could use, somebody with on the hive mind team with something in their ear, like an earpiece, an ear implant, or a head, helmet type thing to cross their brainwaves through the computer. They can say something and then you'll say it through your throat. So they can be talking and making you say it, or they can be moving their arms and stuff and make you move your arms. So that's a definite protocol in a lot of targeted individuals where they're messing with their motor cortex. They're also connecting one of your hive mind team members to the computer to match your brain waves. Then it's going and it's hitting your motor cortex, what they're doing, and they can move their arm to make you move your arm, right? So then they can probably do it with AI too. Once they get it into the machine, and now that they have it, like a bunch of this stuff just recorded and network, a lot of it is just done by the AI. Less technologically sophisticated methods of mind hacking are imaginable. Malicious software might attack the minds of users by manipulating the flicker rate of the monitor and by displaying subliminal messages on the screen that cannot be consciously perceived. Although the effectiveness of subliminal messages has been often dismissed, neuroscientists have found indications that subliminals do work in the sense of somewhat affecting the behavior of people who have been exposed to them. At least sometimes it is uncontroversial that the advertising industry has experimented with subliminals, as described in Vance Packard's 1957 book, The Hidden Persuaders. Subliminal advertising has sparked enough concerns to prohibit them in many countries, including the United States. The Russian government has even decided to automatically scan media for subliminal messages after it was reported in 2002 that a Russian TV station included subliminals in their programming to manipulate their viewers to keep watching it. Research has shown that people can emotionally respond to subliminal cues and that this can affect attitudes and behaviors. The danger in subliminals may not lie in directly causing action, but but in their capability of slowly shifting perceptions, attitudes, and beliefs after an extended period of exposure to them. This is a huge thing with my remote neural manipulation, with my psychic driving, and probably a lot of y'all's, is that you may be getting that high-pitched sound, or you may be getting lily waves that bypass the subconscious, and you're getting streams of certain phrases or things that are subliminal that that don't come up, they don't bubble up in your inner voice. They make you feel bad. They make you feel like you don't want to feed your dog. And that's not what my attackers do to me, but a lot of subliminal things on a loop, right? And I know that I have this along with the V2K that's audible, things that affect me subliminally over years, negative things to rip me down, to change my personality, because we're really affected by subliminals, and I think we all have that. That's why I think another way that we got to fight this is getting some kind of positive subliminals and doing that when we sleep, or just when, for at least a couple of hours a day. I think we should really get that where it's like, where you hear those tapes and it's like, you can do anything. You are God's child, positive things. You want positive things consciously going into you. You want positive things subconsciously going into you to fight what your attackers are doing. The psychic driving is just, it's incredible. Like, it's incredible how it can affect such strong people over a long period of time, yeah. So the mind is a new domain of warfare. There is little doubt that neuroscience and technology has numerous military and security applications, but does this amount to any revolutionary change or create a new domain of war? Yeah, and as targeted individuals, we know that. This has changed the paradigm of life. It's changed the paradigm of the world forever. It's the big C for us. How some people say, when I got cancer, that changed my life. Everything from that point on was changed. When I found out I was a targeted individual, or when the overt targeting started, my life was changed forever, right? A totally new domain of living, of fighting, of surviving, and it is a war. It is a war. This is a war. It's torturing people, cooking their brains, messing with their minds, making people go and do violent things. That guy Omni Aris was laughing. They were laughing and saying how crazy targeted individuals are, and that they're the people who go and shoot up malls and stuff like that. Well, did they ever think to question why a targeted individual would go do that? Oh, they're just they say they're a targeted individual and they were just crazy before. People don't even question the remote neural manipulation, the V2K, making a teenager so desperate that they go and do something crazy. Like, these people who are denying this are insane. They're insane. It's completely inverted. They sit there with their arms folded, like they're so smart, but they don't know shit about the world. I'm sorry. I know I have some morning people here. I don't know what that means, but just it's bull. It's bull. Like, they're so stupid. They have their arms full. They're so cynical, and they don't know anything about their world. We know about our world. You see, guys? So what I really want to get through targeted individuals, this is happening to us, to many people around the world. We will be vindicated. You want to start speaking out about this stuff, because there's no reason not to. There's no reason to feel like you're wrong. You're right. You're an innocent person. You're being targeted by stuff. You're right. The people they're like, they're mentally ill people. They're wrong. Like, they're very wrong. They're so wrong that they're getting children killed. You see, we're so right that we can help save lives and build awareness, right? So don't get messed up in the perception war, right? It's a perception war where it's like, hey, we're cool and cynical, and targeted individuals don't really exist. Just a bunch of mentally ill people. Why don't you hang out for a while and we'll make fun of them? They're getting people killed, and they're lined up to be tortured and killed also. So they're so wrong, but they look cool or whatever, and maybe people don't understand, so we maybe don't look so cool, but we're saving lives because it's really, really happening. We've got to get this compliance system perception out of our heads, out of our heads. It's a war of perception. You're going to have people who like believe in exactly the wrong thing, looking really cool, being really popular, and then people doing the right thing, being very unpopular and being hated because of how sick our society is. And we got to get past that. We got to get past that and just do the right thing. You know, and I think a lot of targeted individuals are. Most targeted individuals are. I don't know what I'm complaining about. Sometimes it's like I saw new targeted individuals on Omni Aris's channel that I had never seen their channels before. And I don't know why they weren't recommended to me by YouTube. So it's like we're being censored, we're being kept apart. And I think sometimes I get frustrated because I can't see all I can't see all the progress being made, all the new targeted individuals speaking out, right? That's part of the PSYOP. That's part of the conditioning and control of society and censorship. It's keeping us apart, keeping a targeted individual to where they may only know about a couple of other targeted individuals speaking out when there's thousands and thousands of targeted individuals speaking out, but like these social media platforms aren't going to suggest them to you, right? It's not going to do it the right way. It's not going to like give you the right topics that would feed this social network that we need, right? All the little what do I call it? Like all little networking points that we can make. We can work kind of separately, but then we can sometimes work together, right? And so I think that's what maybe targeted individuals would be the most comfortable with, because you know there is infiltration where you can do your own work, you can put your own information out there, have people that come to your videos or your conference calls or the like, and kind of work separately. But then when a big organization needs something, you kind of help them out, and that way you'll have little nodes, right? And I think that's the best way. I think we do need these bigger organizations, but if you're a little bit wary, and I'm not saying like I'm wary of those organizations, but if you're a targeted individual who's wary of bigger organizations that have bunches of targeted individuals in them, you can do your own work, be your own node, but then just kind of help out who you really believe in, right? And I think that's in that way we build like this web, this social network that can be very strong together, but not necessarily just join a big group. We're gonna have to kind of recreate the how to unify, right? How to unify in different ways where we can keep our individuality but still unify. I like the metaphor of the Avengers, right? You know, they all have their own movies. They all have their own movies, and they're all heroes in their own right. But when the world needs them, they come together, join in, and then kind of they separate and do their own thing. I really like those kind of metaphors where it's like everybody has their individual unique thing that they're working on, but they're a node and they can come together and help each other. So you don't necessarily need to be part of a big organization. Like I'm part of Targeted Justice. I haven't talked to Midge in a while, but I do support that. And I do, when they get a lawyer, I don't know if they've gotten a lawyer yet, but y'all know what I'm saying. You know, creating nodes, creating network nodes where we can have a social network, but also play it close to the vest, so you don't have to do anything you don't want to, right? Okay, so is neurowarfare just an evolution of existing methods of war and technologies, or does it actually introduce a new quality? Some may argue that psychological warfare goes back to ancient times and was already advocated by military theorist Sun Tzu, who counseled in The Art of War that to subdue the enemy without fighting is the acme of skill. Neurowarfare might be just a refinement of PSYOPs with some marginal improvements in this area. However, modern PSYOP still remains limited to using communications for influencing the emotions, motives, objective reasoning, and behavior of the targeted audience. Modern PSYOPs has gone past that. They now use neurowarfare. They use remote neuroweapons to PSYOP people in communities to then gang stalk them. So this is completely wrong. It's not still limited to just using communications like the internet or anything like that for PSYOPs. PSYOPs is now of the mind, and they're doing this to many people globally. This person can't talk about it directly, I guess, because it is a national security thing, us innocent citizens being killed. It needs to be covered up for national security or whatever kind of lie, satanic BS that we're going to plow through, you know. But yeah, so that's a complete lie. So objective reasoning and behavior of a target audience. While neurowarfare promises something different, direct external control of human consciousness through targeted manipulation of the brain. And that's what's being done to targeted individuals. It's being done in warfare in the Middle East. It's being done everywhere around the world. It's being done to tons of people, millions and millions of people around the world. As Robert McCreight has argued, thoughts, beliefs, perceptions, ideas, and behaviors could be made directly vulnerable to external threat and control for the first time in human history. And I think that happened in World War II. I think kind of this started off, maybe it happened a little bit before World War II in some kind of freak accident, but then they really started getting organized with remote mind control in World War II and after World War II. So that was the first time in human history the external, but the perception. Okay, let me read that again. Thoughts, beliefs, perceptions, ideas, and behaviors can be made directly vulnerable to external threat and control for the first time in human history. If it can be achieved, states and other actors will aim to dominate neurospace, bypassing conventional military capability and other traditional defenses of society in order to gain a decisive advantage in conflict. Neocortical warfare. Neocortical warfare. RAND analyst Richard Safransky proposed in 1997 the term neocortical warfare to describe a new paradigm of war. Safransky criticized the Clausewitzian paradigm for being overly focused on the need for violence as the main instrument of coercion. Safransky suggested the intellectual energy consumed by devising newer and better ways to kill and destroy distracts us from the real object of war, subduing hostile will. Lopping the limbs off an enemy's body, or even precisely excising muscles from it, undoubtedly sends a message to the enemy's brain. Might there not be other ways to communicate with hostile brains? He goes on to further delineate neocortical warfare from the older paradigm. This is very ironic because it seems like peaceful people, they're trying to turn peaceful people into violent people through remote neural manipulation, through mind control, and they have very violent people on the weapon systems as the operators, right? And who are programming this AI and everything. Very, very violent minds. And then they're trying to actually, instead of subduing a hostile brain, they're picking non-hostile people and trying to make them violent. So, I mean, maybe there are some protocols where they're using them in wars in the Middle East where they're trying to subdue violent radicals. But I know for targeted individuals, it's the opposite. They're actually trying, because anything is dual use, right? So if you can subdue a hostile brain, you can actually make a subdued brain hostile. And that's what they do to all of us, you know. Hey, Odin. Yeah, Odin Wooten says, I can relate better with a Muslim in Iraq that has had his family and house blown apart. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we're a banana republic. What America and a lot of these other countries now, there's a lottery system that can hook torture devices into people. We're just banana republics with this veneer of democracy. Like, it's the veneer of democracy to keep everybody kind of still compliant and still thinking that we live in a sane, rational civilization, but we become banana republics where it's like you can point, you know, somebody in these programs can point at somebody and have them raped for the rest of their life. You know, that's not a republic. It's definitely not a republic. It's definitely not a democracy. But it is communism in a certain way, but it's like a new type of communism. That's like the Wild Wild West, banana republic, satanic communism, technocracy, right? Tansy said, Queen Esther is hard to accept because so many TI's flows have changed, and we are trying so hard to help each other and step up and help ourselves too. Yeah. Yeah, it gets really hard because people are going through, kind of a little bit different situations and stuff. So Queen Esther says, I was trying to help a YouTuber TI who says he's homeless. I sent him money and offered him help. He turned around and started calling me a perv. What the hell? Yeah, yeah, it's crazy, Queen Esther. This is all crazy. It's all very chaotic. They can really do things to like your endocrine system in your pituitary gland create chemicals that can make you paranoid, right? Or they can just, that's the one way that I see that they can make us paranoid. That's why I was talking about oxytocin, because in the right amounts it can be very good. In the wrong amounts it can make you depressed, anxious, paranoid. I'm sure they can just give you paranoid feelings, paranoid EEGs and stuff like that. But I think that they use that, the remote neural manipulation of giving people paranoid feelings with actual chemical secretion of the pituitary gland and the thyroid and stuff like that, which then it just amplifies it, right? It gives you this natural feeling of paranoia, and then they take that EEG and they amplify that EEG and they just bring it in a cycle. So a lot of targeted individuals, because there really is infiltration, right? There really are people that are community placed agents and cyber hackers. I think it's a small percentage. I think it's like 10 at most 10%, and that's a high number. I think it's actually lower than that in the groups that we have, but they're there. And a lot of people would disagree with me. They'd say it's the opposite. They'd say 90% are fake TIs. But what we have to realize is this, I mean, people's targeted individuals, attackers can affect them, make them feel such a real feeling that maybe you're not who you say you are, that maybe you're an agent or something like that. And it can really hurt, right? When you're a real TI and you really want to help, it's just part of it. It's part of the fight. It's part of the fight, and you shouldn't take it personal. Queen Ezra, you shouldn't take it personal. Keep trying to help people. Mostly, take care of yourself. I find that what's a good thing to do, I think that we all need to kind of start focusing. I know that you like connecting with targeted individuals, right? Like one-on-one conversations, people meeting up in their area, those things. Yeah, yeah, we need to do that. But I think that targeted individuals really should focus on making your stand, like making your stand, a YouTube channel or a conference call or something where you can have like-minded people stick around and hang out with you, and then people who don't really like you or understand you, they can, kind of not hang out and they can go find somebody else, right? And that way we'll have all these things building up, where you'll have a lot of targeted individuals. So if some people are like, oh, well, you're an agent or whatever, then you still have the ones who know you're not an agent, right? To do things that way. It's the hardest thing. Well, it's not the hardest thing about this. The murder is the hardest thing about this, but it's something that I've tried to work on solutions. And I thought of like, why don't we take lie detector tests and stuff like that, and just have your lie detector test to send out to TIs like, look, I took a lie detector test saying that this is what's happening to me. I was thinking about some kind of a blood test because our blood gets clumped up. I'm sure that we'll think of better ways, but my whole thing is that if we just stay true to the true information, the real targeted individuals just jump in and help, say what's true, have good solutions. If we keep moving forward, the real target individuals are so powerful and putting in real information that those people who want to cause trouble and maybe are agents or whatever, they kind of just fall off. They're very ineffective. right? On my channel, I have so many moderators, so many real targeted individual moderators. Somebody comes in to cause trouble or lie, those are very smart people. They're just going to be like, boop, you're out of here, right? And it's becoming more and more like that. And then those channels, and I don't know why I'm going into this. I'm kind of obsessed with this lately because it got me so angry. The Omni Erisys channel, it's so pathetic and small. His videos don't even get as many views as mine, and my channel is pretty small. They're just kind of they're going away because this is really happening. So there's not many smart people who are maybe not targeted who are jumping into the arena and saying, I'm going to go after those targeted individuals because they're smart enough to know that it's happening. So now we have the dregs left. We have people like Omniairs who's just like, I don't want to say a bunch of bad stuff to him unless it's to his face, but he's kind of just, he used to be smart maybe, and now he's been doing so much really bad stuff that he's just going in the wrong direction or something. I don't know. I don't know what's wrong with him, but it's really making me mad, like what he's doing lately, because they make fun of a bunch of targeted individuals on there. So neocortical warfare is warfare that strives to control or shape the behavior of enemy organisms, but without destroying the organisms. It does this by influencing, even to the point of regulating, the consciousness, perceptions, will of the adversary's leadership, the enemy's neocortical system. In simple ways, neocortical warfare attempts to penetrate adversaries' reoccurring and simultaneous cycles of observation, orientation, decision, and action. In complex ways, and that sounds a lot like hypergame theory, right? The reoccurring and simultaneous cycles of observation, orientation, decision, and action. In complex ways, it strives to present the adversary's leaders, its collective brain, with perceptions, sensory, and cognitive data designed to result in a narrow and controlled, or an overwhelmingly large and disorienting range of calculations and evaluations. The product of these evaluations and calculations are adversary choices that correspond to our desired choices and the outcomes we desire. Influencing leaders to not fight is paramount. So probably my attackers do that to me on a remote neural manipulation where they influence my thoughts and I'm like, well, I need to do this, but it's kind of in their plan, right? Some things that I'm doing that I'm like, oh, that's a really good thing. They may already be planning, they may be leading me in that direction, right? Some of them may not. Some of them for you guys, it's like your attackers want to control, they want to make you think you're making decisions, but it's decisions they want you to make, right? And I think that's a lot about like hypergame theory. And see, influencing leaders not to fight is paramount. Our struggle is very tough because violence has been monopolized by the agencies like the FBI, the CIA, these contractors. It's been monopolized. So the authority figures in our society are the only ones who can do violence. And if you do violence and you're not an authority figure, you're going to be false flagged, called crazy, you get in more trouble. So we've got to fight, but we've got to fight in a more sophisticated way. That's not actually physical. And it's the best way. I promise you guys. I promise you guys, like the way that I've been fighting, helping y'all with information, getting, it's hopefully inspiring you guys, working with other targeted individuals, working on solutions, trying to get people physically feeling better so that we can all kind of run up. We have a better probability of explaining ourselves correctly. And we're going to do it. I mean, we're going to make it. I see signs, like I was telling people earlier, I see signs of, the Neuralink and consumer products, mind control headsets for Facebook and Google. That's a sign that these people running these experimentation programs and torture programs, they're trying to get out in front of this, right? They're trying to put out all this convenient, cool looking stuff to the public before the public cottons on that a bunch of innocent people around the world have been tortured. A lot of them have been killed. Kids are being tortured, right? They're trying to kind of put all the really good looking stuff out first. So I think that's a sign. So I think that we're doing this. I think that we're getting there. At least that, I mean, that's what I'm going to think right now. I know that we can make our individual situations better, and there's no question about that. What Fransky is calling neocortical warfare is referred herein as neurowarfare, the manipulation of enemy brains for the goal of subduing their will. Similarly, Australian defense analysis Chloe Diggins and Clint Arizmendi have argued that neurowarfare is about involuntarily penetrating, shaping, and coercing the mind in the ultimate realization of Clausewitz's definition of war. Oh, did I already read this? Compelling an adversary to submit to one's will. I already read this. This goes clearly beyond psyops and can be aimed at degrading mental capacity, altering mental states, altering emotions, and potentially impacting higher cognitive functions of perception, thinking, memory, and learning. Neurowarfare is also culturally agnostic in the sense that people can be influenced at a level of the brain, potentially bypassing cultural factors and peculiarities. So basically, potentially bypassing tradition. You know, what you've been taught is right. They're hoping that their brainwashing and their, you know, neural weapons and the remote neural manipulation can completely bypass tradition and what you and your mind have organized throughout life to see what is right and what is wrong. And my attackers have not been very successful with that. You know, my faith kind of holds that together. But they try. They try and make me think that, you know, nihilism, everything's just variables. You know, why are you even helping people? It's too big. This is too big of a thing. It's stupid to have faith in God. Look at how bad the world is. But I'm smart enough to know that evil men have created this, and I never blame God. God gave us all the gift of life, and free will is just a part of it. They want me to believe that there's no God, like my attackers want me to believe there's no God because something bad has happened to me. Good luck with that. Bad things happen to people all the time on this earth, really bad things. And the people who have victory stories and, you know, write books after the Holocaust and bad things happen like that, they survive it. They survive it. They find the silver lining. They stick with God and they keep moving on. You know, like Winston Churchill said, when you're going through hell, keep going, right? But that's, you know, that's what our attackers do. They try and take things that we've organized in our minds and our personalities throughout our lives to understand this is good, this is bad, this is right, this is wrong, and they want to totally wipe that away so that you're left with kind of a moral vacuum, right? Where you don't really believe that in anything, and you just cognitive dissonance, right? And we got to be really careful about that with all this, you know, complicated information and stuff. So the human domain. In recent years, the U.S. military adopted the concept human domain, which is added as a sixth domain of war apart from land, sea, air, outer space, and cyberspace. So in recent years. The human domain comprises human factors and the human terrain. Human factors deal with aspects of human nature and human capability that are difficult to measure, but that are critically important in war and its conduct, namely culture, motivation, morale, emotions, training, leadership, and so on. And we can look at those things, right, and see what's been manipulated in us by our attackers, by these remote microwave attackers. Our culture, conduct, culture, culture, our motivation to do things, our morale, like how happy we are about the way things are going, our emotions, training, leadership, and so on. The human terrain is the human population in the operational environment, as defined and characterized by sociocultural, anthropologic, and ethnographic data and other non-geographical information. The U.S. Army continues to develop HTS by combining it better with geographic information systems so that everybody and all activities can be tracked and referenced to a geographic location for better situational awareness in the human domain. A 2012 DoD white paper on strategic land power declared the central importance of the human domain to all warfare and argued what we know and project about the future operating environment tells us that the significance of the human domain in future conflict is growing, not diminished. The paper emphasizes the continued importance of land power and growing importance of conflicts short of war, where lethal power may not be the most effective way to meet U.S. strategic goals. It clearly hints at possibly covert methods of influencing other societies so that actual warfare becomes unnecessary. It's just, but you know, the way that I see it is they try and like hide the blood, right, with us. They're attacking us with microwaves and neuro weapons, trying to control our minds. It makes it more evil. Like it makes it more evil than if the war was, so they're like, so these people in the military, they're like, oh, well, it would be like non-lethal, right? At least somebody wouldn't be bleeding. We're going to use ways to subdue them. But what the military-industrial complex immediately did is it said, we're going to torture people their whole lives, 24 hours a day, and never let up. And nobody's going to know that we did that. Like, instead of just like, oh, if there's somebody who's violent, you know, hit them with a microwave for a couple of seconds, get them to stop, get them to know that that's going on. They immediately turn non-lethal weapons into the most lethal, most evil, most painful torture weapon devices that have ever been created. So that doesn't really work. Like those ideas, like maybe for psychological operations and stuff that would not be violent, but when you add in microwave weapons and mind control, it's way worse than just shooting somebody in the head. It's way worse. It's way worse. It's way worse. Tearing up somebody's personality, changing who they are, damaging their brain and stuff like that over many, many years in their entire life is way worse than just going up somebody. And I'm not going to say that. I wonder how my videos even go out sometimes. So a subsection of the human domain that could emerge in the future could be called neurospace, the technical interface at which brains and minds interact with their environment. Chloe Diggins and Clint Arizmendi have argued that neural interfaces such as neural devices and BCIs could become ubiquitous and that they could therefore become targets of cyber attacks. Everybody's brain can be hacked nowadays. The possibilities for damage, destruction, and chaos are very real. This could include manipulating a soldier's BCI during conflict so that he or she were forced to pull the gun trigger on friendlies, install malicious code in his own secure computer system, call in inaccurate coordinates for an airstrike, or divulge state secrets to the enemy seemingly voluntarily. And you don't even need the brain-to-computer interface because we don't have brain-to-computer interfaces implanted in us. Some of us probably do have implants to intensify it, but now it can be done based off just your brainwave frequency. So they can hack into people's minds and make them do anything. And that's why you have so many shootings. You have so much of this chaos. You have so many people doing crazy things and more in this, you know, people call this crazy clown world now because so many people are being mind controlled or being trauma-based mind controlled. Now you have a world full of people who are doing things that they didn't even want to do, you know? They didn't even know that it wasn't them, the thoughts in their heads to go and like, you know, like that teenager on his birthday that went and shot up that school in California. I guarantee you he was a mind control victim. I guarantee that. I'd take all the money, the $500 that I have, and I don't even think I have that much. Okay. In light of the rapid advances in neuroscience and technology, it no longer seems far-fetched that militaries will seek to dominate neurospace by hacking the human brain and by devising new technologies that harden own personnel against neurowarfare attacks. In many respects, neurowarfare would be fairly similar to cyber warfare, with the exception that attacks are not directed against technical systems and networks, but against biological cognitive systems, which we all experience. Everybody who's probably watching this right now experiences. If you're not a target individual, welcome, and please share this information. Thumbs up, sub, like it. Hey, that's a thumbs up, and share this information. Fairly similar to cyber warfare, with the exception that attacks are not directed against technical systems and networks, but against biological cognitive systems, which may occur through some neurocyber interface or BCI, and which would aim to steer consciousness, in which it doesn't even need that. There can be an integrated weapon system that has neuro weapons that can tap into the infrastructure of ground radar, over the horizon radar, 5G microwave towers. These phased array antennas can then direct an electromagnetic field around the head. You don't have to have any implants anymore or nanotechnology, but all those things are used to intensify it and to make the signals to the brain stronger, right? The nanotechnology in the brain, the heavy metals mixed with fungus, which would be a Morgellons type, those things are used to intensify the things they can do to the brain. But you don't even need that. You don't even need a cyber interface for electromagnetic frequencies to mind control and hack the brain and hack somebody's brain. So some researchers have even suggested the creation of an internet for minds, thereby creating a noosphere that could one day form a super intelligent hive mind. Combat in neurospace would become a struggle over the formation and direction of collective consciousness. What follows in the final section is a brief discussion of key strategic problems related to neurowarfare. So this next part is going to be key strategic problems related to neurowarfare. We're going to get a little insight into things that they're trying to iron out with our torture and the experimentation of targeted individuals, what the military industrial complex is trying to kind of iron out and see how it works. I did want to mention like the internet for minds. Now they're already doing this with my hive mind team. I think they connect some of their own thoughts to each other, and then they all kind of overpower my brain with their brain waves sometimes. So they're practicing that internet of minds with those people. But I think also with targeted individuals, if you become a really close friend with another targeted individual, or your family is targeted, they will actually connect your minds on certain levels, like words that they're thinking, visuals that they're thinking, and things like that. And therefore, they're practicing those networked of hive minds from the targeted people, the people who are being targeted, us, and the people doing the targeting. They're practicing that on both sides. And just, and just a mad scientist, the world is a petri dish, connect everybody's brains up. Queen Esther says, Laurie Smith, this got so much worse for me under Hillary and Obama. Yeah, Obama did the Brain Initiative, which really screwed us over. It put hundreds of millions of dollars back into this. Just gave them extra money to do it. Laurie Smith says, blankets on the wall stop the frequency. They sent people for the blankets I put up on the windows and walls in Washington. Yeah, and I mean, the Mylar blankets do work. Aluminum foil does work. It does absorb and reflect the directed energy. You just don't want it against your skin. Carbon-based paint. I even have a targeted individual friend that used a lead-based paint. I'm using the lead. This is like a lead and rubber concoction for this, and this is really working well. But I have a TI friend who actually painted his walls with lead. He hasn't had any problems. I don't know if I'd suggest that, because they say that lead's dangerous. I think that may have been propaganda, because you can't use through the wall radar with lead. It's very hard. It kind of makes me think about Superman's X-ray vision, and it's like I wonder if some of that was like propaganda way back then. I don't know. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff that can stop this. The best stuff that I found is not the stuff that I put on my walls or try and build around me, but things that I can put like on my head and my neck, things that I can be like Dave KCD right into the vestibular system. And then the grounding, if you're getting external hits, you don't always just have to use passive shielding to block it. You can actually change the conductivity of your skin so that when an external hit, external stream of energy hits you, your skin's it's gonna dissipate. It's not gonna collect on the skin right. So grounding does that. It changes the way your body reacts to it. Yeah, I'm gonna do website. I'm gonna do I can't remember the name for it, but on YouTube where you collect a bunch of videos and you put them in a playlist. I'm gonna do a playlist for the ZVS driver, and then just a playlist for all defensive ideas. That's what I'm gonna do to start it out, and then I'm gonna do a website. I got to think of a cool name, and it's just going to be one page, and it's just going to be like a list of stuff to use to defend. I got to get a domain name. I'm doing that. It may take me a while, but I'm definitely going to do that, so I can just send people there. Approaches to neurowarfare. In principle, neurowarfare can be waged defensively and offensively. And that's what that, you know, these agencies do have protocols where they're trying to actually defend their soldiers from neurowarfare, right? Where they're creating helmets, they're creating materials that block electromagnetic frequencies because they need to make sure that they can block Russia and China's attempts to, you know, get into the mind of our president and stuff like that, right? So me and a lot of people have talked about probably naval intelligence or some agency already has a 100% solution, right? They're not going to release a virus without having a 100% solution. So we're, you know, like, even if this program doesn't end in the next couple of years, which I think that it is, we can still find these things that the agencies themselves are using to protect themselves from automated systems, from AI-based remote neural manipulation, right? We're going to be able to get more and more stuff like that in the consumer markets for defense against this. Like, you know, you think about QWave, think about getlambs.com, you think about lesscmf.com, think about Alibaba, I forgot what that store's name is, but all those places, that thing's going to get bigger. And just like some of the things, the technology are trickled out into the medical community, the consumer products for like mind reading headsets, you're going to have that defensive side of the defense industry, right? The DoD, how they're defending against electromagnetic frequencies. You're going to have that stuff trickling out into consumer markets. You see, so we've got to be on the lookout. This is all happening, lots of different angles, but lots of hope that we can grab, because we know that the people who created these weapons and are using these weapons, they have ways to shield themselves, and to shield themselves from AI that can adapt too, right? You know, Brian too talks about jammers. A lot of people talk about jammers. I mean, I think we got to be careful to, I guess, stay legal. I guess we got to be very careful to stay legal, you know, but jammers is a good idea. Jammers. All right. So in principle, neurowarfare can be waged defensively and offensively. In a defensive function, neurowarfare may be used to suppress conflicts before they can break out. A potentially hostile society may be calmed and hostile attitudes or perceptions adjusted accordingly. For example, defense analyst Henrik Freeman has pointed out perceptions of winning and losing are central to all forms of warfare. So if one could somehow manipulate enemy leaders into believing that they have won, they would terminate hostilities before they have actually gained the advantage they originally sought, or they may never see the need for resistance in the first place. In an operational environment where the most compelling future defense relevant shocks are likely to be unconventional, in an operational environment where the most compelling future defense relevant shocks are likely to be unconventional. I'd say that's true. The importance of managing perceptions of potentially hostile populations grows. You know, this makes me mad because they're talking about like subduing hostile enemies, right? Or subduing terrorists, but the way that this is working for targeted individuals, they're doing the opposite. They're taking very hostile people, putting them on these weapons, and then they're trying to make very peaceful people very hostile. So just remember, it can go both ways. And they say this stuff to make it sound like only heroes are using these weapons or some kind of lie, whatever lie they're trying to tell. But the deal is with us, they're trying to make very innocent, very peaceful people hostile by murdering them and messing with their brain on levels where it's like we can't control our anger and stuff like that. So occupied populations could be more easily pacified, and incipient insurgencies could be more easily suppressed before they gain any traction. Calmatives could be put into the drinking water, or populations could be sprayed with oxytocin, there it is again, to make them more trusting. Potential terrorists may be detected using brain scans and then chemically or otherwise neutered. This obviously creates the possibility of creating a system of high-tech repression where the words of writer Aldous Huxley, a method of control could be established by which a people can be made to enjoy a state of affairs by which any decent standard they ought not to enjoy, right? Kind of like, I mean, it's kind of like gang stalking, right? Like if somebody's gang stalking an innocent person, they shouldn't feel good about that, right? If they're just a normal person, they should be like, wow, I'm being really evil, like I'm gang stalking some innocent person in my community. But they want to make these activities, they want to condition them and tell lies about people so that people enjoy this awful, awful activity. It's bad for them and bad for their families and bad for me and bad for my families and bad for y'all and it's bad for y'all's families. Like these microwave attackers, I think some of them just naturally enjoy hurting people and dominating. The woman on mine seems to really not enjoy it. It doesn't seem like she's gonna enjoy it. Maybe some of the people like her who don't enjoy it at first start to really enjoy hurting people, right? And that, I mean, that's what conditioning is all about, and that's what this society and this system is trying to condition people into making evil fun. They want to make evil and hurting each other and just effing up our communities a fun time activity, which people are tricked into thinking it's going to do some kind of good for their lives, which is just a complete falsehood. Being good should be fun, period. You know. Offensive neurowarfare would be aimed at manipulating the political and social situation in another state. It could alter social values, culture, popular beliefs, and collective behaviors, or change political directions. For example, by way of regime change through democratizing other societies, a complaint that is frequently heard from Russia. A Special Operations Command white paper claims Russia, China, and Iran currently conduct political warfare activities to further their individual goals, and suggests a strategy enabling the U.S. to influence local struggles in a positive direction should be developed. However, offensive neurowarfare could also mean collapsing adversarial states by creating conditions of lawlessness, insurrection, and revolution. For example, by inducing fear, confusion, or anger. I talk about that a lot, and that's how they're going to try and destroy America, and destroy Australia, and destroy New Zealand, and destroy England. They're going to try and confuse everybody, cause confusion, fear, and anger. And everybody's going to beat each other's throats. Then the country consumes itself from the inside. That's it. And they're pushing it along with these artificial means of microwaving people in their homes, microwaving families, and then getting people to do really bad stuff to them. And it's just creating this cycle of fear. And it's actually creating, mass shootings and everything like that to keep the fear going, right? The Hegelian dialectic of problem, reaction, solution, where the solution is never for the common man, woman, or child. It's always for the top of the pyramid. The solution is more control, more fear, more control over the human population. And countries imploding on themselves So then they can have a global new world order, you know, which we're kind of already in right now. I think that we're already kind of in it right now. Countries are in name separate and individual, but in reality, you got the Five Eye countries, which is pretty much like a global alliance. You know, we have in name we're America and we're independent, but not really. You know, we kind of do what Israel says, and then a lot of people do what we say. So it is kind of in like, you know, some of the very, very wealthy families have a lot of stock or a lot of investment in Israel and those Zionist prophecies. So they kind of control world stage, and they say, well, you're America and you're independent, but America gets a bunch of other countries to listen to it while it's kind of pulled on a leash by Israel. So it really does create kind of a global control by countries that are told that they're independent and free. The people in them are told they're independent and free, but it's nothing like that. However, offensive Neuroware could also mean collapsing adversarial states by creating conditions of lawlessness, insurrection, and revolution. For example, by inducing fear, confusion, or anger. Adversarial states could be destabilized using advanced techniques of subversion, sabotage, environmental modification, and gray terrorism, followed by a direct military attack. As a result, the adversarial state would not have the capacity to resist the policies of a covert aggressor. Neurowarfare could take down a strategic competitor permanently without nuclear war and the risk of devastating nuclear retaliation. But the human damage, the moral damage, the spiritual damage to humanity is far greater than dropping a nuclear bomb on a country. It's far greater. When you have so many people in different communities in this fake false flag ripping up their mind, raping a lot of people's minds, and it ripples out, it has much more damage. It's much, these people up at the top of the pyramid in the military industrial complex say, well, you can't see the damage, you can't see the blood, so that makes it clean. But they're wrong. That's inverted. What the damage that these neuro weapons are doing is mind control, and good people calling people being tortured, calling them crazy, the kind of psychological and spiritual just eating away at what we're supposed to be as humans is way more devastating than a nuclear war, way more damaging to humanity. So here we are, targeting. Here we are. They're not going into the specific, you know, integrated directed energy weapon systems or neuro weapons, really, but that's what they're talking about. They're talking about affecting whole populations with neuro weapons or affecting leadership of countries with neuro weapons. So hold on one second. Let me get a drink of my energy drink. Yeah, Slack guy says anger, fear, aggression. Anger leads to hate. Wait. Fear leads to anger. Anger leads to hate. Hate leads to the dark side. And no, hate leads to tragedy, and tragedy leads to the dark side. It's very true. Star Wars is very true, guys. Just know that. If you don't learn anything else from me, learn that the Force is a very good metaphor for how we should see good and evil, light and dark. Hey, terrorized Germany. Hey, Brigitte says, hello, T Germany. Oh, speaking in German. I can't read that. Yeah, Tim Greenblatt says, I suspect my tinnitus is being foisted upon me, but the damn unit doing it could be hidden in the size of a pack of cigarettes. And, you know, Tim, I'll tell you, and hey, Awaken World, most likely, Tim, most likely, you got like a team of people or an AI system, you got an integrated weapon system, and it's tapping into the infrastructure like a microwave tower around you, a satellite that routes that signal from microwave tower to ground radar, and it's making an electric field around your head. And it's creating that tinnitus-like sound by electromagnetic transcranial stimulation, and then just conducting along the skin into your inner ear, and microwave hearing. So you probably got a couple of things happening from the infrastructure. There is a worldwide infrastructure built where satellites are the brain of it to tether people to directed energy using microwave towers, 5G, ground radar, over the horizon radar, drones, planes, and the like. And I'm missing parts of this infrastructure. Electric wiring in our houses, smart meters, and everything like that. But then you have teams of people, and some people it's completely AI. They may have somebody come in and check on it, but it's an integrated weapons platform that could be completely automated. It's using that infrastructure to give you that high-pitched sound all day, to motion compensate the targeting of that electromagnetic field around the head. But it could, I mean, they do have things, they do have like little black boxes and stuff that your neighbors can have that can cause those high-pitched sounds and stuff like that. It gets complicated because there are a lot of different ways to do it, but I'd bet even money that your tinnitus sound is coming from the infrastructure around you. And then it's somebody like, at least in your state, a contractor that works for your state, either an underground bunker, maybe a corporate building, or maybe a military installation, and they have rooms where they have these integrated weapons platforms, either completely automated or with hive mind team members, and then those are using the infrastructure, right? I've got it. That's a hypothesis from my research, but I'm pretty positive. I just don't know where they are, where the integrated weapon systems are. Are they on an underground installation? Do they have corporate buildings where they have these things set up? And they're just lots of security around the corporate buildings, or is it new military installations where they have compartments within the military installations where contractors do this sort of work? We really got to find that out. We need more whistleblowers who actually did this, and I think that's going to be a hard thing, because I think some people try and come speak out, but then they get thrown in jail. They disappear. Like if they're talking about how they worked on this stuff. Trying to think. I mean, Brian Coffrin's the obvious one, but I hope he's telling the truth that he did. Where a lot of the stuff he says makes sense. I know he's a targeted individual, and I don't want to go into that, but he's an obvious one. And there was somebody else that wanted to come out and talk about weapon systems being used in foreign countries, and they wanted to talk about this. There's an article about it that I need to find, and they ended up disappearing. I know 9. Terrorized Germany says 9. 9 ich antworte dir später auf YouTube. Did I say that kind of right? I'm pretty good with language. Yeah, Tansy says, Odin, I hate how it's called no touch. I have burns on my body from their microwave weapons. And what about our insides? No touch my left butt cheek. LOL. Yeah, and that's so true. And somebody was saying this. I heard something where it was like, oh, well, we're just going to have to redo all the laws, right? Because microwave weapons, it's no touch. No, we have laws for murder. We have laws for torture. We have laws for rape. You can't rape somebody's genitals. So raping their mind, raping the insides of their body with anything, it's rape. We have these definitional laws that work for this. Integrated weapon systems, cooking us, torturing us, doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that they're not doing it with an axe. If somebody throws a knife at you, that's a remote weapon. They're taking a knife and they're throwing it at you and it's stabbing you. They didn't touch you. They threw the knife at you. The knife touched you. Microwave frequencies, electromagnetic frequencies being shot from an infrastructure are hurting our body. No different than throwing a knife at us. No different. They try and separate people's perceptions on these things and say, well, it's just electromagnetic frequencies, so it's really not You know, we're going to have to redo laws on whatever this is called. No, no, it's torture. It's rape. It's a weapon. Anything that hurts somebody and is not is done non-consensually is rape and murder. You know, it's so simple, and we already have laws to cover all of this. And that's and you know, we have to understand that's the reason why they hide it, right? Because they know people aren't going to be like, oh well, oh, because it's microwaves, it's not really a weapon, and y'all really we'll just have to make new laws about what this called. No, people are like, yeah, it's murder, it's torture. You know, we know that it's murder and torture, and there's no complication with the laws that we already have. These people doing this are committing high treason. Doesn't matter what new kind of national security rules that they have or anything like that. Those are treason. Any of those national security laws that say that they can murder innocent Americans to further the protection of innocent Americans, that's insane. That's insane. It's wrong. It's illegal. It's treason. These national security rules and regulations they put in place are tyrannical treason against America and against the Constitution. It's just the people saying it, the people crying out to the rest of, you know, like people in every country crying out to the rest of the public. We don't have a lot of power, right? The people who are doing the crimes have a lot of money and power and control over society. So we see organized crime. We see how powerful organized crime is depending on who has all the money, you know. Hey, politically persecuted, Bristol, UK says, tired in a legal battle and very sleep deprived due to the dues. Yeah. Odin Wooten says, as if life wasn't torture enough. Yeah, we got to just keep climbing up, guys. From 6 years ago or 7 years ago when I started making videos, it's a lot more hopeful. There's a lot more professionals speaking out about this. There's a lot more people, you know, talking about it as a general topic and knowing that it's happening. It's just so much more hopeful now than it was then. Hey, AMAC says, do you think the neuro weapons will be adopted into social credit rating system, and will the masses accept it? I don't think they're, you know, unless they mind control everybody, I think there will always be a huge percentage of the population that will rail against this, that will never accept this stuff. They're trying to do it in a specific way where it's convenient and the public learns about the convenient stuff and just keep us undercover, right? Keep the people being murdered undercover so it doesn't scare the public, and so they'll accept it as something very cool. But this is all going to come out. There's just no way, unless they murder everybody off or they completely mind control and erase people's memories. There will be people to remember how life was and to remember what's important about humanity. And I don't think the majority of the public will ever accept something like this unless there's the murdering off of a lot of non-compliant people or you know, completely erasing their memories and mind controlling them. If there's any people with their own minds left, and like even with remote neural manipulation, I feel like I can make choices and I have good opinions about things. If there's any people like that, the majority will not accept these things. Will kick up a fuss. But the way that the top of the pyramid and the military industrial complex are doing it is they're creating more violence. They're creating a cycle of violence that makes people very fearful. It makes people very scared. And when people are scared and they're desperate, it's hard to know what's going to happen. It's hard to know what they'll accept, right? Because they're not working with their right facility. Like a good person who's very scared and desperate is not going to do the same thing as that same good person when they're, you know, feeling comfortable, feeling, you know, not threatened. They're going to make better choices when they're calm. And that's one thing with us guys. Like I know that everybody's hurting really bad, and it's a panicking situation, right? Your best bet is to stay calm and be in a solutions-oriented state of mind. Like when you're hurting, when you can't take it, to just think, what can I do to make this better? What can I do? Instead of panicking and saying, this is so bad, and just like, oh my God, this is happening, this is happening, this is happening, to be in a solutions-oriented state of mind. Non-victim, you are a victor. You are a victor and a survivor. And then solutions. When you are in the worst position in your life, and the targeting, you just feel like you can't go on, and it's hard for you to even live, and you'd rather be dead because the pain's so bad. You think, how do I make that better? How do I make that 5% better? And you catch that 5%. How do I make that now? Oh man, I'm feeling a little bit better. How do I catch another 5%? Or how do I catch 10%? How do I catch 15%? And you keep climbing up. You know, it feels, I don't know how to explain this, but when you're getting full-fledged remote neural manipulation without like Dave Case's CD or any kind of defense, it feels a lot different than some small things you can use to completely change it and actually get some comfort. It feels like that's not possible. Like, because I've been there. I've been there where it's like I was hurting so bad, and I was like, it felt like I was just being hit with external hits from all these different angles, and I was having a heart attack. And I heard about Dave Case's CD, and I said, okay, Hail Mary time. I said, Hail Mary time, but I doubt it's going to work. This feels too serious. It feels like I have to block external hits. It feels like I'm going to have to block something else, you know. But then it's this really weird thing that happens when you start getting some of those percentages that you're like, wow, that really made that much of a difference, you know? So, I mean, just get started on that. Hey, Brigitte, I didn't know you were German. So we got some German TIs in here. We got German TIs, and hey, Sleeping Beauty, I think I said hey to you earlier. I hope I did. We got German TIs in here, Australian TIs. We got British TIs, American TIs, New Zealand TIs. No Chinese TIs. No Japanese TIs. I was kind of thinking about that earlier. Yeah, Sleeping Beauty says something important. The radio frequency and energy waves not only touch the body, they go right through them. Yeah, through the head, like, in effect, it like the magnetite in our brain, nanotechnology in our brain also gets it to conduct through our brain too. Yeah, that's exactly my point. Sleeping Beauty says, is a gun no-touch torture? Right? I mean, you can say a gun is no-touch torture because you didn't touch the person. You can say an axe is no-touch torture, you know. But I think the definition is like, say somebody was torturing somebody with an axe. That would be touch torture because they're like there physically. But what they're saying is it's like, oh, it's technology where they're not even in the same vicinity, so it's no touch, you know. But it is because it's a weapon. It's just a weapon that can be shot from long distances, you know. So. Tess says, what gets me through this is that nobody gets to hurt people and get away with it. God will avenge us directly on the person that is committing the crime or their kids, generations. I believe that. Yeah, I do too. I believe that vengeance is mine, saith the Lord. And it took me a long time to come to peace with that, but like now I'm so far into it that I'm like, okay, I want to make myself feel better. I want to help my family. I want to help you guys. I want to have victory in my life, and planning vengeance against these people that are microwaving me and automating this stuff, it would make them win even more, you know. Not to say that I would not like them to see their day in court, maybe be executed for this, but sometimes I'm just like, what's in my hands? What's in God's hands? And I think a lot of these people that are doing this to us, they've already been punished to the utmost. They're soulless. Like, they're soulless and empty. The only way they can feel anything is by hurting somebody. How long have I been streaming, guys? Let's go ahead and finish this, guys. Okay, so targeting. Like, cyber warfare bypasses the battlefield. Neurowarfare bypasses the state altogether and might target individual civilians. Targeted individuals. Like, cyber warfare bypasses the battlefield. Neurowarfare bypasses the state altogether and might target individual citizens. political leaders, societal subgroups, or entire societies. Also, just certain people with certain genetics, or certain people with certain cultures, or if you maybe went and had a surgery at a hospital connected to a contractor, all types of people pulled in to the experimentation so they can collect data from across the globe, you know. And I heard that Omniaris guy saying it again, saying like, "What makes you so special? The government wants to watch you in the shower, blah blah blah." You know, millions of people around the world are being directly targeted by integrated directed energy weapon systems. How are you getting that one person thinks they're special when they say they're targeted? And I think that we are special. I think we are special. God has put us in this situation. God has given us talents. God sees us as special. I'm just not quite sure what the evil people see. And I don't care what they see. This evil system could see me as disposable, or it could see me as so influential and dangerous to evil. I don't care. I don't care how they see me. I care how God sees me. Y'all kind of get my point on that. And I think that different people up in the pyramid see us different ways. Some of them do see us as dangerous and influential, and then some down at the bottom see us as expendable. I think it's just different up and down the pyramid of who they think they're attacking. Okay, so as a result, the traditional distinction between combatants and non-combatants may become meaningless. There's already a legal debate over the question whether and under what conditions civilians can be targeted with non-lethal weapons. Well, they're just doing it, and there's no debate. There's no debate because the military-industrial complex and contractors under CIA, DIA, NSA, you know, and then all the arms of the DoD, they're just contractors are just torturing us 24 hours a day and raping us. And then people call us mentally ill. So let me read that again. There is already a legal debate over the question whether and under what conditions civilians can be targeted with non-lethal weapons. We need to find that legal debate and chime in and say, hey, it's already been happening for many, many years. Where are you guys at? For example, in the context of counterterrorism and counterinsurgency operations, this debate is bound to intensify once neuroweapons mature. And they already are, and they're already proliferated all over the world. And I hate how these articles talk about it as if it's in the future. That's propaganda to me. That is conditioning to talk about something as if it's going to be in the future when it's already here. It's already killing people. It's already torturing people. It's already mind controlling and damaging people's brains. A further complication with respect to non-combatant targeting arises from the tendency that neuroweapons may be employed covertly without the target of attack even being aware of the attack. And I think there's tons of targeted individuals like that all over the world. A neurowarfare attack may not even cause any physical harm to a person subjected to it and may in this respect be akin to targeting civilians with propaganda, however, with more drastic and immediate effects. Enemy leaders could be targeted to degrade their ability to make sound decisions or to steer their decisions into a particular direction, which I think has happened to Donald Trump. I think communist elements or socialist elements in the deep state that want us to go into socialism and want to protect the deep state from Donald Trump are targeting the president with neuroweapons. I think he's got people trying to like fight against it, and he can't talk about defenses that he uses, and he can't even talk about the weirdness of it. But I think he's got people probably on his team, military people who are like measuring frequencies and stuff, and then he's got people in the deep state who want him out, you know, rattling his brain, making him tweet out really stupid stuff. I think we actually have that going on, where our own president is in the middle of this neuro war. You know, I really do. I'm not just saying that. I really do think that's actually happening. Enemy leaders could be targeted to degrade their ability to make sound decisions or to steer their decisions into a particular direction. Individuals may be driven insane and manipulated into random acts of violence, which tons of mass shootings by teenagers who had voices in their heads. and not just B2K, not just voices in their heads, but probably remote neural manipulation, making them very angry and confused and not knowing what to do. And maybe in like that Nicholas, I can't remember his name, but the guy who did the Florida shooting, or was one of the Florida shooters, or maybe was the patsy, I'm not sure. He was saying that the voices in his head told him which door to go into the school, which gun to buy, and were giving him instructions on what to do that day. That doesn't sound like schizophrenia to me. That sounds like voice to skull. It sounds like a military situation, setting this kid up, sending him in there, and making him do what he did. Nicholas, Nick, I can't remember the name, guys. Oh, thank you, Sleeping Beauty. Sleeping Beauty says, Tansy tease, hugs and kisses. Everyone here is good people. I feel fortunate that I found you guys. Sometimes I just listen while doing other stuff, and it helps out. That's good, Sleeping Beauty. I'm glad. Yeah, Tansy says, Sleeping Beauty, thanks for sharing that, sweetheart. Politically Persecuted says, we need a secure method for targets to store evidence urgently. Can you get like a safe? I mean, what kind of evidence? Like, what I would do, this is what I have done. I just put the evidence out. Just get it out there. Get it out in the public, because evidence, like, I mean, what type of evidence that you need to bring to your court case, right? Get one of you can get a safe. You can get like a lead safe that they would know the combination to it. I think that's something that the individual targeted individual would have to figure out, because I don't think there could be any kind of mass plan where it's like, hey, we'll take all the evidence for targeted individuals. I don't know if I would trust anybody who did that. I don't know. That's an interesting topic. We do have to think about that, because I want to do my I can't remember what it's called. I put all my evidence out, like all my video evidence and everything. I need to do it better. I need to collect my evidence so when I can get a lawyer and have it. One of my biggest pieces of evidence that I want is an implant that I think I have on my left side. And I'm thinking about going to Spain, maybe, like studying. I don't know, this is kind of just in the works. I'm not sure about it, but like going to Spain and finding a doctor who would image and pull out an implant. Then if they would give it to me, then I could go to a lawyer with that, and we could track that implant. Melinda Kidder does that. Melinda Kidder, Dr. Staninger does that. I just think that I've heard some things where I don't want to use them. It's too expensive for me, and I'm not sure about it, but other people should look into it. But I was thinking about going to Spain because some other target individuals got their implants taken out in Spain, actually. Okay, so a neurowarfare attack may not even cause any physical harm to a person subjected to it. It may, in this respect, be akin to targeting civilians with propaganda, however, with more drastic and immediate effects. Enemy leaders could be targeted to degrade their ability to make sound decisions or to steer their decisions in a particular direction. Individuals may be driven insane and manipulated into random acts of violence. Societal subgroups may be manipulated into rising against their government, and whole societies may be thrown into political turmoil and chaos, which all those things are happening as we speak in every country right now because of mind control, because of mass signals to communities and directed targeting with neuro weapons and directed energy weapons on targeted individuals. All of those things are happening. While such methods of war seem intuitively objectionable from an ethical point of view, they increasingly represent the current reality of hybrid warfare, political warfare, and other forms of societal destabilization that are being employed with great effectiveness by several major nations. There is currently no legal protection against mind manipulation. That's bull. It's rape. It's rape. There is legal protection. It's rape. It's rape and should not happen. We already have laws for rape and murder and torture. Mind manipulation is rape, murder, and torture. So we already have laws. We need to fight against that. We need to find. I need to talk to that lawyer. I need to talk to Schumann. I need to talk to Schumann and just say we already have laws in the books against torture and rape and murder. It doesn't matter what you do it with. You know, that needs to be our biggest stance, is that we're being murdered, we're being tortured. There's laws against it. Like, I don't see how that seems like a psyop too, to make it more complicated. Like, no laws against mind rape. Like, there's laws about raping your genitals, but no laws about raping the most the most sacred space in your mind. In your body, your mind. Yeah, right. It's rape. It's rape. If raping your genitals is so horrible, which it is, which is like the worst thing you do, then raping somebody's mind, their thoughts, is obviously rape. There's already laws. There's currently no legal protection against mind manipulation. False. 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 Although one can argue that covert mental coercion would violate human dignity and, by extension, human rights. And yes, it does do that. And we can talk to any targeted individuals, me or you guys. It violates our human dignity, and it violates our human rights. Big time. Big time. The biggest thing in human history to do that. So deterrence. I doubt he's going to be talking about materials or anything like defensive materials. How can we deter neurowarfare attacks? Deterrence can be defined as the use of threats to dissuade an adversary from initiating an undesirable act. I like the word deterrence. I use it a lot. Some of the things that I use for defense doesn't completely defend if my attackers want to keep hitting there, but it deters them from hitting those certain spots. Its success depends on two factors. The threat needs to be clearly communicated to the adversary, and secondly, the threat needs to be credible. The credibility of the threat again depends on two factors, namely the capability of the coercer to carry out the threat and the likelihood that the threat will actually be carried out when the undesirable act occurs. Neurodeterrence can have two meanings. One, deterrence based on insights gained from neuroscience and technology. Neurodeterrence can have two meanings. Deterrence based on insights gained from neuroscience and technology, and two, deterrence with neuroweapons or against neurowarfare. In the first meaning, neurodeterrence is clearly possible. Neuroscience can gain great insights into foreign cultures and how science and technology affects brain functions and decision-making, as pointed out by the NRC study. In this sense, neuroscience can help understand the true motivations of an opponent in order to find a punitive strategy that would most strongly influence an adversary's behavior. Now, my attackers, let me just say, my attackers know that, like, I want to do what's right. Like, they actually use that against me. Like, so I can't be a bad guy because their psyops and the remote neural manipulation are using the fact that I want to be a good man and do the right thing. They oftentimes use that against me, just like they use that against me in my relationship with Stacy, to really pump up stress and everything, because they were putting thoughts in my head like I was going to abandon my family and move to California, which is not what's going on, you know, and making it feel like it was just the hardest thing in the world because I want to make the right decision. So they use that against me a lot. It's weird, right? Because we're supposed to be these evil terrorists or evil, you know, we're the bad guys, wherever they have to watch, which is just bull. My attackers use my desire to be a good man and to make the right choices. They use it all the time on remote neural manipulation. And they always say, oh, you're a bad guy. Like if I make a mistake or something like that, or, you know, don't call everybody back, you're a bad guy. While they're murdering me, they're calling me this. So it's that's very interesting in this article. And I'm not saying I'm perfect or anything. I just have a desire to do the right thing, you know. Secondly, nations will want to deter the use of neurowarfare against them, or they might use neuroweapons for deterrence more generally as part of their defense posture. Currently, there are some key problems with deterring a possible neurowarfare attack by an adversarial state. A threat may be communicated in secret using diplomatic channels, saying that if neuroweapons are used by the adversarial state, it will produce a certain unavoidable response. The problem is that unless the public is made aware that an invisible or indirect attack with neuroweapons against a state's leader or population has occurred, it will not support any open punitive action against the aggressor. The response would therefore have to be limited to some covert action, possibly a response in kind, attacking the minds of the adversary's leaders and population, which risks escalation. Furthermore, secret weapons would unlikely deter an aggressor for the simple reason that capabilities have to be demonstrated in order to make a threat credible. Secret military capabilities have little deterrence value. Okay, we're almost there. Okay, unfortunately, there are few incentives for any nation that succeed in developing neuroweapons to openly declare that they have them and might use them. Right. Such a declaration would be counterproductive for several reasons. The declaration might spark a neuroscience arms race as more powers would seek these capabilities. They already are. Every country is developing, is doing training, research, and development on neuroweapons and neurotechnology, directed energy weapon systems. The only thing that would happen if these weapons were declared, like if Russia, China, and the United States declared the existence of these weapons, it would stop a Cold War. It would stop, not a cold, it's a hot war, it's a microwave war. It would stop that if they declared it. Because then it would stop being secret, the public would know about it, and all of the experimentation would have to slow down in all of those countries, and it would stop it. They'd all be at the point that they're at with the weapons training, research, and development that they're at, and then they could go to war with each other. Russia could go to war with America with brain weapons and stuff like that. China could go to war with Russia with neuro weapons, directed energy weapons at that level, right? And the public would know about it, so they couldn't do any more secret experimentation. They don't announce it because they want to do more experimentation to targets like us. They want to do lifelong experimentation on the brain so that they can see what would happen to a person who has it hooked up to their head their whole life. Certain personality, what kind of belief systems can they push, torture thresholds with it, just, walking us to our own deaths, and that kind of stuff. Hell on earth, satanic technological rape. Not surprisingly, okay, lost, and other states may find effective countermeasures. Not surprisingly, many states have kept their research into potentially revolutionary non-lethal weapons secret from the public for decades. America being one of them, England being one of them, Australia, New Zealand, I'm missing Russia. Russia actually did a ban on directed energy weapons, but I think they still experiment on their public. So I'm very interested actually to visit Russia. Very, very interested. The result may be that governments adopt by default an opaque posture with respect to their neurowarfare capabilities, which could potentially result in a failure of deterrence and subsequent disaster. And it has. It's caused just disaster in our communities, disaster in our countries, just human, just human horror in all of our countries, in individuals' lives, in people, innocent families' lives. Some nations may be able to use a perceived capacity for developing neuroweapons as leverage in international relations, getting concessions from much more powerful states. Threshold to war. There is a common problem with respect to all non-lethal approaches to warfare, be it cyber warfare, economic warfare, financial warfare, ideological subversion. And that is the question under what circumstances the threshold to war has been crossed and when a kinetic response to the non-lethal attack could be justified. Neurowarfare directed against enemy leaders, enemy forces, and an enemy society could be conducted in peacetime or outside a declared armed conflict. Or they could use neurowarfare on their own citizens to test out what's going to happen and to cause more chaos in society and eat the country away from the inside. So you can have it like America, just the example, other countries are doing this too, attack their own communities, attack their own citizens, have people attacking each other to destroy the very fabric of their nation and to bring it down. So they have people being told, hey, you're going to go after these domestic threats, right? These people, they're crazy. And they're just getting people to attack families, innocent families, and tear down their own countries. So that's what's actually happening. Threshold war. Neurowarfare directed against enemy leaders, enemy forces, and an enemy society could be conducted in peacetime or outside a declared armed conflict. Just like cyber warfare, neurowarfare is inherently difficult to define and regulate since both methods of war could be generally conducted covertly, are difficult to attribute, and often cause no visible effect or damage. Up to now, cyber war has only been able to produce a limited degree of societal disruption by making targeted web services temporarily unavailable and by causing financial damage. However, cyber warfare is still seen as being potentially able to bring a nation to its knees through sophisticated attacks against critical infrastructure such as the electricity grid, mass transportation systems, and stock markets. For this reason, an emergency conference call system that includes all key cyber war decision makers has been set up for the event of a major cyber attack on the nation, including a dedicated emergency communications line from Washington to Moscow. The authority for engaging in offensive cyber operations outside of an armed conflict rests with the president, which again indicates that cyber warfare activities are indeed considered war and not merely an extension of espionage that does not require such authorization. The rationale for these restrictions for offensive cyber operations is based on the risk of unwanted escalation and the risk of unintended large-scale collateral damage, which would also apply to neurowarfare and other methods of subversion. They are war. What's being done to us is a declaration of war against innocent American families. We just don't have enough numbers right now knowing it's happening for the public. They're like, oh, well, it's mental illness and stuff like that. This is a declaration of war by our own military industrial complex to say, you people don't have the right to exist. You don't have the right to your freedoms anymore. We decide that we want to kill you to protect you, right? And it makes no sense. It's a declaration of war against our own country from people who are told that they're fighting for our country. It's a huge mess, a huge mess. I guess that's the bottom line. It's just a huge lie and a huge mess. Currently, arms control agreements do not cover neuroweapons, as the technology could fall in between the CTC and BWC. What? Currently, arms control agreements do not cover neuroweapons, as the technology could fall in between the CTC and BWC. The use of neuroweapons might be treated similarly to cyber warfare activities and could be correspondingly restricted, both domestically and internationally. A no first use doctrine might make sense with respect to offensive neurowarfare. What a joke. That's all they're doing is first use. People without even we don't have neuroweapons, and they're just like experimenting on us, declaring war on us, practicing, I guess, for way more mind control in the future. A no first use doctrine might make sense with respect to offensive war. And I'm starting to think, I don't know if this has anything to do with that, but the Cuban embassy attacks. Cuba is so not controlled by America, right? And America wants more control in Cuba. And I'm starting to think that it wasn't Russia helping Cuban intelligence, but it was. But I'm starting to think that it was America that did that in a false flag manner to pin the blame on Cuban intelligence, so that they could get more control on Cuba. because they could tell everybody, well, there's a threat that Cuban intelligence has these neuro weapons, and so we have to go in there and take more control. It gets so complicated, you know, and that's just the hypothesis. So I mainly have two hypotheses on the Cuban embassy attack. So governments and other organizations also would be well advised to think about effective neuro defenses that can protect leaders, personnel, and society at large from sophisticated attacks on their minds, including their perception, emotions, and consciousness. Unfortunately, the great secrecy surrounding neuroweapons can be detrimental. We're talking about it here. We're people in my chat and me, we're being hit with neuroweapons. So no secrecy there. We're being hit by these weapons with hive mind team members and automated systems, AI, hitting us 24 hours a day. Cat's out of the bag, no secrecy. Oh wait, I have to actually be a doctor or something like that. I forgot. I have to be a general, or I have to be on the mainstream media for people to listen to me. We're saying it right here. The cat's out of the bag. It's not a secret anymore. People are talking about it. Just because the military-industrial complex wants to keep something a secret doesn't mean it's a secret. Doesn't mean everybody in reality has to pretend that it's a secret just because the military-industrial complex wants to keep it a secret. You know, I think all human beings on the earth need to really effing realize that just because the military-industrial complex or evil people want to keep something secret, it's not a reason to change reality in your head and lie about stuff. You know. Okay, so leaders, emotions, and consciousness. Unfortunately, the great secrecy surrounding neuroweapons can be detrimental as it could lead to underestimating a very real and growing threat. Yes, it's very detrimental to many innocent families around the world. It's very detrimental. It's giving criminals jobs, criminal psychopaths who don't care about hurting innocent people. It's keeping them in the flow of money, and it's making good people who want to do good things in their societies, making them vilified, lied against, false flag, and then their brains turned inside out, you know, in a war. It's very detrimental, the most detrimental thing that I've ever known in my human life. So one can ask the question, should we risk waiting until the tangible first evidence of neuroweapons research has landed on the front page of our major newspapers and CNN before we start thinking about the threat? And it already has with the Cuban embassy attack and the China consulate attack. It's already come to CNN and Fox News, still being talked about. But yeah, people need to start not only thinking about this threat, all talking about this. Everybody should be talking about this on every major network. It's happening. It's not happening as fast as I think a sane society would have things moving along, but it is happening. Governments need to make it clear under what conditions they would use neuroweapons and how a neuroweapons attack by a foreign power would be answered. In short, a neurowarfare doctrine is needed and should be developed before neurowarfare becomes a reality and a tangible threat. Too late. Too late. Neurowarfare is a reality in my condo right here. And everybody, some people may actually be out on the streets that are in my chat room. Some people at their homes and their condos. It's a very stark reality for them right now because they're being attacked by microwave weapons and neuroweapons. It's a very tangible threat. You know. Conclusion: neuroscience research will have a substantial impact on warfare and security in numerous ways, ranging from the enhancement of personnel, the improvement of strategic intelligence, new screening devices that can detect hostile intentions or guilty knowledge, thought-controlled weapons, and offensive neuroweapons that can directly influence mental capability, perception, emotions, and thoughts of people, which is what we're going through. On this channel, targeted individuals. We're going through our minds being manipulated, our emotions, our perceptions being manipulated. Actually, chemical secretions from our endocrine system and our adrenal system, our glands and stuff can be affected by frequencies to the brain. It is a horrible, horrible, inhumane injustice. And we're going to keep talking about it until this program goes away. Until people understand, until there are new rules, I don't think there need to be any new rules. We're being murdered. Murder is illegal. Torture is illegal. I think there, that has it. That says it. And then people should react to that. Court should react to that. Well, let's find out what contractor is doing this to you. Let's find out what contractor under what agency is experimenting on you, because we know that's who's doing it. And judges to start, lawyers should start doing that, and judges should start going along with it, because this is murder. And you can't just say national security or terrorism and then just murder whoever you want. We live in a world like that, which we do now. We live in an evil New World Order world where evil people can lie about a good person and just start murdering them. And as long as there's reality by consensus, it's all okay. But that's not right. And we have to fight against it. And there are enough good people in the world that when it's so blatant that they can't deny it, they're going to do something about it. Everybody's going to start doing stuff about this. I'll tell you that much. I know. It's gotten better from like 7 years ago. Smell a weird smell. My attackers are messing with my nose. I smell smoke, green smoke. But I haven't smoked in like a long time, like a year or something. So my attackers are giving me, it could be one of my neighbors maybe. Okay, so and offensive neuroweapons that can directly influence mental capability. Okay, the sum total of the military applications of neuroscience and technology can be called neurowarfare, and it may become a distinctive domain of warfare in its own right. And it already is. Ultimately, there's no higher valuation in war than subversion of the enemy's mind. If this can be achieved, sorry guys. Excuse me. You're making me smell, my attackers are making me smell marijuana. And I don't have any in my condo. I haven't had any in my condo for like, I don't think I've had any in this condo. Okay, so it might be one of my neighbors actually. Okay, if this can be achieved through targeting the enemy's brain directly, it would be the most powerful weapon that has ever been devised by humanity. Considering the dangers of neuroweapons and the prospect of governments and terrorist groups secretly wielding neuroweapons against individuals, groups, or society in pursuit of strategic goals within a decade or so, considering the dangers of neuroweapons and the prospect of governments and terrorist groups secretly wielding neuroweapons against individuals, groups, or society in pursuit of strategic goals within a decade or so. So that's the wrong timeline. It's been being done since like the 1950s. Governments have been doing this to their people. And it's just picked up. It's just proliferated, especially after 9/11. They started grabbing in more targeted individuals to experiment on and false flag and harass with gang stalking and stuff like that. So individual groups or society within a decade or so, it is time to think seriously about how to protect leaders, government personnel, and society at large, and about how neurowarfare can be governed. That'd be great. That'd be great. You start talking about neuroethics, our right to have our own thoughts, and the right not to be murdered in our homes. Right? That's what we've been talking about forever. So the spectrum of neurowarfare, manipulation of the brain, attack on the consciousness, objectives directly control human behavior, manipulate thoughts, perceptions, dreams, manipulate emotions, attack on mental capacity, degrade cognitive functions, interfere with perception, alter mental states, technique, predictive algorithms, simulations, brain imaging, right? That would be the AI, brain functions, consciousness. So that would be steer society at large, influence individual or collective behavior, predict threats, developments, behaviors, access memory, deception, detection. So then psyops in technique, communication, mass media, internet, attack on perception, influence behavior, influence beliefs, influence perceptions, influence emotion. So we've got all these angles of stuff. That's really strong. I don't know where that's coming from. There you go. So Slack TI says, yeah, of course, now there's a medical excuse for physical manipulation attached to schizophrenics. Yeah, yeah, like my psychiatrist a long time ago, not the one I have now, but she was saying, like if you have really, like the DSM changed it to where some forms of schizophrenia can cause actual physical pain to the body, like heating up of the body and burning of the body. So the DSM kind of changed along with the torture to actually fit these experimental torture programs. It's so bad. So bad. Odin Wooten says, if you talk to God, you are praying. If he talks to you, you are schizophrenic. God talks to me, but just in my heart. Like he doesn't talk like the V2K or in a voice. It's more through something that I couldn't even explain to people, through many, many different angles that I couldn't explain, and they can't be, it's stuff that cannot be manipulated by like my attackers, by other people, because I know it when I see it. Like I can't really explain it, I just know it when I see it. I know it when I feel it. You know? Hey Mac, Mac, yeah, AMAC says a skunk, LOL. Yeah, it smells like that. I actually don't think it's my attack. I think somebody around me. I think somebody around me is token up a little bit. Shiloh Phoenix says, thanks, Kyle, for all your time on this very real subject. Exposing warfare and protecting our human rights is paramount. Yes, yeah. We've all just got to keep talking out, just keep speaking out, guys. Everybody's doing such a great job. There's a lot of stuff coming up. I think, you know, I wanted to read this article. I know it was long, but I really wanted to read it. And we'll do like a panel next time. Maybe I'll try and find out any kind of recent like rallies coming up, things that we need to be planning for. If anybody has any kind of defenses that I never talk about, like things that you're using that really work, you know, bring those. We'll just go through news from the front. News from the front. The Neuro War continues. Like that 1940 voice. On the battlefield today, soldiers are using their brains and their bodies. A ring-a-ding-a-ding. Slack TI says, I believe TD is real. TD, who's TD? TD is real, but like you're saying, Tim, I don't think it's a problem. It's just an excuse for physical manipulation in the schizophrenic epidemic we are experiencing. Yeah, there's also an epidemic of narcolepsy. Have you guys seen there's this new epidemic of narcolepsy, people going to sleep at the wheel and stuff like that. And you know how frequencies can affect people. I'm thinking that maybe they are doing a lot of broadband frequency manipulation of populations and communities, and some people react to different frequencies different ways. Some frequencies that maybe make people more alert. Well, no, they probably want to make people drowsy. So a lot of them, it probably makes some people like act like they're narcoleptic, like it knocks them out. Some people, it just makes them real tired, right? So there's a narcolepsy epidemic too. Yeah, it's all corresponding to the torture. You know, tardive dyskinesia, tardive dyskinesia. Yeah. Hey, Tansy, thank you. Yeah, somebody else is saying, Tansy said, Charlotte, how talented is Kyle at reading the chats out loud? Yeah, I'm good at reading. I'm good at reading. If I like, I don't know. Sometimes I can come on and just talk, but they've really messed that up. Like my remote neural manipulation, like I can. It sounds okay to you guys, but like at the beginning of my targeting, I could just talk about stuff and my brain would just kind of flow, even though I was still being tortured. But now it's like my brain is roadlocked. So like I can read stuff and I can talk about some stuff off of it. But if I just get into a car and I'm like, okay, I've got some things I want to talk about, it's very, very difficult. And I can kind of do it with my communication, the way that my brain uh, gets stuff up on deck for communicating, for talking, is completely changed. And some of it may, some of it may be because I'm like taking too much kratom. Um, some of it could be some things that I could maybe correct. So I don't know. I may be kind of switching things around and seeing if I can get my thinking better. Uh, Yeah, Queen Esther says, Vulcan Wolverine, can you post the article in the show notes? Thank you. It's great. Yeah, and it's posted in the last video too, because I did the first part of the article, so it's in the last live stream too. Yeah, yeah. PA says they have tried to put me to sleep behind the wheel several times. Yeah, they do that to me all the time. They did it to me when I had a bunch of oxygen tanks in my medical, like I was working that medical job and I had oxygen tanks, like probably 100 oxygen tanks in the back of the van, and they would try and put me to sleep while I was out on jobs. Like I was out setting up oxygen for people. If I would have crashed that van into like a bunch of other cars, there would have been a huge explosion. And like one time when I was working, my friend came in and he was like, wow, there's this huge explosion. This other oxygen tank company in like in another city, like another parish. We call like counties parishes here. Um, it blew up. The guy crashed and it caused this big explosion and blew up like 5 cars. So like my attackers were trying to put me to sleep and hitting me in the chest while I had these oxygen tanks in the back of this van. They didn't care. Like they didn't care. If I would have crashed, rolled off the road, they didn't care. They did not care at all. Okay, so Slacky, you're saying, Kyle, you definitely don't take a lot of kratom. One capsule is half a gram. So what's too much? Like I take like maybe that means I take like 2 grams in the morning. I'm just kind of trying to slow down on it. Sometimes I'll take like 8. It's like he has 10 caps every few hours is a bit much. 4 in the morning and 4 at night ain't bad. Yeah, like I do 4 in the morning, 4 in the middle of the day, and like 4 at night. But sometimes I was doing like 8 at a time. I haven't been doing that lately. I don't think I've ever done 10 at once. I think I've done 8's the most. Odin says the culture in America is addicted to substances and things, not each other, like it should be. Even a counselor will tell you to get a hobby or legal addiction. Yeah, I agree. I agree, man. And I'm screwed up because of this targeting. Like, I'm not a healthy person. Like, I mean, I'm healthy. If you're looking at targeted individuals and what we're going through, for what I'm going through, I'm doing really good, right? For what you guys are going through, you're doing really good. But like taking kratom all day long, sitting in my place, hooked to the grounding with my ZVS drivers, playing video games and trying, like it's hard for me to get just regular stuff done. I should be doing productive stuff all the time, researching all the time, making money on the internet somehow or something like that, but I have to just like try and hold my mind together by playing video games. My mom, I'm gonna have to call her. I don't really want to call her. Yeah, Tim Greenglass says, I ate some kratom earlier. It's useful. Yeah, I wouldn't use red kratom during the day. I would do the white or green during the day. White's going to kind of make you feel a little bit smarter. It's going to lift your mood and stuff. And then green is kind of like red and white mixed together. It doesn't make you real tired, but it gives you kind of it helps the pain levels. And then red makes me really sleepy. Like red will put me out where I'll be like, if I take like 4 red at night, I'll be conked out, you know. And then I take CBD oil too. CBD oil is not really helping me that much anymore. Yeah, Odin, I would try it. Just try a little bit. Try the white vein. Just try some white vein kratom. Go to CBD kratom, or if you can get it cheaper somewhere, where they have it like at a local head shop, then do that. Just try some. And then in California, they have CBD mixed with kratom. They have kratom that's mixed with THC and CBD. That's why I really, you know, I think I'm gonna go visit California soon. Pretty sure. I'm trying to plan the trip, but it's hard to plan everything. I want to be in Target. Yeah, Odin says I will try anything 5 times. Candy says kratom was helpful for me when I thought I just had PTSD. I'd recommend that anyone try it out. Yeah, and it's not dangerous at all. Okay, so Slack TI says, Odin, check out Richard Grannon on YouTube. He has awesome seminars on overcoming and handling CPTSD. So Richard Grannon, guys, on YouTube. I need to look into him too. Yeah, Tansy says, Queen Esther, yes, it's attempted murder on us and others on the road. Yeah, yeah. I mean, you gotta figure how many people are tethered to this, you know, bidirectional stream of energy that are just driving around on the road. That could fall asleep at any time, or not be paying attention, or you know, be looking at maybe remote neural manipulate to look over to the right when they should be paying attention to the road. I mean, you got so many people out there being targeted. It's so many more people than are represented that we see that are represented like on social media. Way more in the world. People who like don't even go on the internet, but they're being targeted by neuroweapons. You know, very dangerous. Yeah, Nicholas says, when will it F and N? Guys, I don't know. I don't think it matters that much, but maybe don't use like cuss words and stuff. Be careful about that in chat because I think I can get in trouble for certain words. Now I'm not speaking to anybody directly. Everybody's pretty good, but just be careful about that. I don't want my videos to get censored because of cuss words in the chat. Yeah, I have really bad post-traumatic stress disorder. Candy says, be careful mixing kratom with other supplements like kava kava or valerian. They all intensify each other. Yeah. Tim Greenglass says, I can drive a mile or two in any direction and find kratom on sale all over. The South is buzzing on it. Yeah, Nicholas, exactly. Yeah, use lots of the symbols and stuff. Oh, Tansy says, I don't use cuss words. I use love words. And then Nicholas says, I cuss like a sailor. It's okay. I don't think it's that big of a deal. I'm just saying maybe just be a little bit careful because YouTube has very weird policies where it's like somebody can come in your chat and say something about Hitler and you get in trouble for it. Like the person who runs the channel gets in trouble for it because you got to be watching your comments and everything like that. So I guess I need to watch that one. All right, guys, I'm getting tired. I'm gonna be back on soon, and we'll just do a I'll just get on and we'll do a panel. We'll just hang out, read chats. I'll maybe bring some like diagrams or articles that we can talk about. Maybe we'll talk about Omni Eris's live stream and people like that. And you guys can come on a panel. I don't know. We'll think of something. I think I want to do a panel next though and just hang out. I don't know if we might not be able to do like 6 to 8 hours. I might have to like kind of say, okay, this is going to be 4 hours. And even if we're having a great conversation or something, might have to cut it off at like 4 hours. Cause I was really getting just, it's too much for me. I mean, I don't think people like this, but I can just like kind of be there and leave it open and people talk and stuff like that. And I kind of just go get something to eat and hang out. I don't know. We'll work that out. We'll work that out. I really think that's a good idea, guys, for any of you guys that are like, you're bored or like your targeting is just, it's got you caught inside. You feel like you need to be doing something productive. You know, doing some panel shows, hanging out, like making a live stream, start hanging out. Zoom is very easy to use. It's like $15 a month to be able to live stream on YouTube and have the panel thing going on. I think it's like $5 a month or $15. I think it's $15 a month. That, yeah, it sucks. I think there's another one called, there's another streaming, StreamYard. I think StreamYard may be better price. So look into StreamYard, look into Zoom, and some of you guys, like if you're bored, do a live stream. Just talk about what you know. You know, just talk about what's going on with you or what you're researching about this, because there's so many angles to targeting. But we really could use, I think we really could use a lot of panel shows and stuff like that where targeted individuals are kind of talking about things. And I'll do as many as possible, but I really like getting concrete information out. I don't know. We'll see. We'll do both. We'll just do both. Queen Esther says, have a great day, Vulcan Wolverine, Tansy T, and everyone. You too, Queen Esther. Thank you for coming. Thanks for coming, everybody. Candy Huff says, I want to start a channel, but not being able to let my mind flow disturbs me. Like you were talking about earlier. It makes me really hesitant. Yeah, it makes me, you know, guys, I have to be honest, it makes me hesitant. Like today, I was like, man, I can't really think that great. But I got this article, right? I got this article, I can read off of it and then just kind of comment on it. So you might, if you want to maybe look for some articles that you could read, or find some videos that had some really good information and you can just play them. Like if you have Zoom or something else, you could just play them and then comment on them. You know, if you feel like you can't just sit there and just talk the whole time, then that is a problem. That is something that our attackers with remote neural manipulation will really mess with, about our communication. Like they just zap what I'm going to say next all the time. And it's like, oh man, what was I going to talk about? What was that name? My memory is so bad, you know. Thank you, PA1. Thanks for coming, man. Nicholas says, Roger, caw, caw. Like in the Three Amigos, when he's like, I'm gonna call like a bird, caw, caw. Dude, I'm gonna call you, dude, since you're doing bad. We're gonna see. Dude, you got to use Dave Case's CD, man. Everybody, you need to use Dave Case's CD, and then get some stuff, get some fabric, go getlambs.com beanie, less EMF headgear. It really does, because they're putting an electromagnetic field around the head. It buffers it. This material is going to buffer it, and they are going to adapt a little bit, like Brian too says, but they can't adapt all the way. And if you mix and match grounding, passive head shielding, Dave Case CD, the noise canceling hearing aids, it's very, very effective. It is very, very effective. It is, guys. Hey, AMAC says, thanks, Kyle. You are a champion, and everyone in chat, you're also insightful and love how well you all get along and support each other. Yeah, thank you, everybody, for coming. Thank you, Awaken World. Thank you, AMAC. Awaken World, yes. Link for the CD, antitinnitusv2k.com. Let me go ahead and put it in there. Everybody try that. Anti-tinnitus, v2k.com. Is that? I'm not even sure if that's how you spell it. Anti-tinnitus, v2k. Try some different spellings of tinnitus. Anti-tinnitus, v2k.com. Yeah, Tansy says, Kyle, have you tried binaural beats with the bone conduction headphones? I tried the Schumann resonance, and then I'm getting creative, and I'm watching old movies like Willow and Star Wars and movies with really good musical scores. So I'm like, I'm listening to the movie conducting through my bones. So I'm trying that right now. But I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna listen to some binaural beats on it too. All right, bye, Brigitte. Thank you for coming. All right, guys, I gotta go. I gotta get something to eat. But I love y'all, and I'll be back probably this week. I've got some stuff to do, but yeah, I'll be back one of these nights, and we'll just hang out. I think the next one we'll just hang out. I really kind of want to talk about like Degeneration Nation and Omni Airs, kind of what they're doing and what I think, how I think we should respond to that. Because I think we're getting to where that's kind of being wiped out. Like people understand that this is happening. So I think that we need to be not getting to fights with channels like that, which I kind of already have. I thought that Omni Airs was just a really big butthole about what he did, you know, how he did what he did to Kevin. I don't know. I was going to kind of talk about that and see what y'all thought about it. And it's just a mess. You know, it's just a mess with this stuff. But bye, Tansy. See you on the next one. I'm going to put some hearts in there. Put some. Putting hearts for everybody. Oh, my computer's freezing up. Hold on. I like this, the light heart right there. All right, guys. Okay. I love y'all. Y'all just stay strong and courageous. Just keep coming up with ideas. Get creative, right? Tansy's on here, like on every live stream. She's very creative. Supplements. It's very creative with cleansing stuff. Listen, you know, try and soak up what targeted individuals who are doing really smart stuff in chat are talking about, and try some things. Dave KCD, anti-tinnitus v2k.com. Look into noise canceling hearing aids, grounding, cleansing, supplement, like biohacking our own thing, calcium. There's tons of other stuff. Too much stuff to just say at the end of a video, you know. Yeah. Nicholas says, be creative and draw. Win, lose, or draw. Win, lose, or draw. All right, guys. I love y'all. I'll see you on the next one. Just stay safe. God's with us. We're in the right here, and we're moving forward. All right. So I'll see you guys on the next one. Love y'all.